Chapter 740. Striking Order. Heavenly Emperor, on seeing Ning Cheng's strength, felt both excited and worried. Although it was good for Ning Cheng to be strong, Ning Cheng was too strong. If one day he took a fancy to his Striking Order Starry Sky, would he end up like Fu Yingkue and give Striking Order Starry Sky to Ning Cheng? However, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor quickly put these thoughts aside. Whether Ning Cheng took a fancy to his Striking Order Starry Sky or not, he had to cooperate with Ning Cheng. If he didn't cooperate, Quan Xinluo would definitely take Striking Order Starry Sky. Previously, he worried that Quan Xinluo would kill Ning Cheng in seconds, but now he found that his worries were unnecessary. Ning Cheng's strength had far exceeded his imagination. Moreover, Ning Cheng seemed to have a personality of not attacking people if they didn't offend him. Initially, he wanted to give name Descendant Celestial River to Ning Cheng, but Ning Cheng didn't want it. It was only after he persuaded Ning Cheng to accept it. In other words, if not for named Descendant Celestial River's Ji clan taking the initiative to provoke Ning Cheng wouldn't even want Stately River Star. With such a proud person, as long as he didn't do anything secretly, how could the other party snatch his Striking Order Starry Sky? With the confrontation between Ning Cheng and Quan Xinluo coming to an end, Xiao Jierui and the others began to bombard the restrictions in the corners and prepared to take away the golden chests. Ning Cheng naturally didn't show any weakness and also began to bombard the restrictions in the corners. Although Quan Xinluo felt unhappy, he didn't continue to stop Ning Cheng. He knew that if he tried to stop Ning Cheng, the two would definitely end up fighting. Ning Cheng didn't even put him, a heavenly emperor, in his eyes. Of the 5 chests, except for Zhangkong Tianji and Ning Cheng, who dealt with the restrictions alone, the others all had 2 or more restrictions. Zhangkong Tianji had extraordinary strength, and every time he attacked, a crack would appear on the defensive restrictions. Moreover, no one here could match Ning Cheng's understanding of the Tao of Arrays. Therefore, every time he attacked, he would hit the key points of the restrictions. When the others opened the restrictions, Ning Cheng also took the chests. Zhangkong Tianji didn't put away the chests but put them in front of him and said, "Let's all open the chests. Maybe the real treasures in the ancient Shadow Temple have something to do with these chests. What do you think?" The real treasures of the ancient Shadow Temple were naturally not these chests. It's just that apart from these chests, there was no other way out of the main hall. Xiao Jierui and Yi Jiufeng hesitated for a moment before speaking up at the same time, "No problem." Wu Hong, Striking Order, and the others teamed up to obtain a box. Although they didn't know how to distribute it, it naturally wouldn't be a problem. When Ning Cheng saw that everyone was looking at him, he also spoke up, "I naturally have no problem with it." Even if there was a problem, he had to agree. Offending Quan Xinluo and establishing his prestige for others to see was not a bad thing. However, if he dared to offend everyone here, it wouldn't be establishing his prestige anymore. It would be courting death. Zhangkong Tianji was the first to open the box. Inside the box, there was only a palm-sized piece of dark gray wood. Reincarnation soul wood. When Zhangkong Tianji took out the wooden piece, Yi Jiufeng, Quan Xinluo and the others screamed out almost at the same time. Ning Cheng also looked at the piece of wood in Zhangkong Tianji's hand in shock. He naturally knew about the reincarnation soul wood. The reincarnation soul wood was a heaven-defying treasure. It was a priceless treasure. In terms of value, it wasn't inferior to the best treasures in the slightest. The only use of the reincarnation soul wood was to reincarnate at the moment of death. Moreover, after reincarnation, one would retain a trace of their past life's memories. As one's cultivation continued to improve, one's memories would gradually recover. One could say that this was a treasure that any cultivator dreamed of obtaining. Although Zhangkong Tianji felt happy that he obtained the reincarnation soul wood, he didn't feel ecstatic. For him, he would never reincarnate. Therefore, no matter how important this soul wood was, it wasn't practical. When Ning Cheng saw Zhangkong Tianji's expression, he secretly made up his mind to wait for an opportunity to exchange the soul wood in Zhangkong Tianji's hands. Seeing Zhangkong Tianji obtain the reincarnation soul wood, Xiao Jierui couldn't wait to open the box in front of him. Inside the box, there was only a dark-colored high-necked jade bottle. Xiao Jierui raised his hand and tried to grab the jade bottle. However, he felt an extremely heavy force that prevented him from grabbing it. Qiao Jirui gave a snort, and with a surge of celestial essence, he grabbed the jade bottle again. Holding the jade bottle in his hand, he unplugged the jade bottle. Although Qiao Jirui couldn't call it out, Yi Jiufeng helped him call it out. Single essence heavy water. Chuan Xinluo clenched his fists. Everything in this place was so heaven-defying. Not to mention the reincarnation soul wood, even this single essence heavy water was a priceless treasure. A drop of single essence heavy water was equivalent to the weight of a small planet. Just a drop of it could be refined into a top-grade weapon. However, he didn't even get a single golden box. Ning Cheng also felt a little fiery in his heart. This place truly had a lot of treasures. If he had the single essence heavy water, he could even add a drop to his good fortune spirit spear. At that time, the power of the good fortune spirit spear would definitely increase by a lot. Yi Jiufeng looked a little excited as she opened the golden box in front of her. It contained only a very ordinary-looking talisman. Yi Jiufeng grabbed the talisman with some disappointment. Why did the things in her box look so bad? Qiao Jirui secretly felt proud of himself. Yi Jiufeng was an expert in collecting weapons and loved all kinds of weapons. But now, the thing she obtained was just an ordinary talisman, which was really ironic. Ning Cheng clenched his fists. In his opinion, the thing in Yi Jiufeng's box was the most useful. It was a child talisman of the opening heaven talisman. How precious was the opening heaven talisman? One could even say that it was a treasure that could split the heavens and split the earth. Moreover, there was a child talisman of the opening heaven talisman in this box. From this, one could tell that the ancient shadow temple was not simple. Yi Jiufeng and the others might not know about the child talisman of the opening heaven talisman, but he did. He had even used this thing before. After using it, there was a child talisman of the opening heaven talisman that had lost its Dao charm. Oh, why is my luck so bad? Why did I end up with such a broken talisman? Yi Jiufeng grabbed the child talisman of the opening heaven talisman and sighed. Chuan Xinluo suddenly showed a smile and said, "If junior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix doesn't like this talisman, you might as well trade it with me. I really like these weird talismans." Yi Jiufeng's eyes turned. Does senior apprentice Brother Leveled Heart really want this talisman? If senior apprentice Brother Leveled Heart can give me the soil that contains the breath soil, then this talisman. Not waiting for Yi Jiufeng to finish, Ning Cheng also smiled and said, "Senior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix, I'm also very interested in this talisman. Of course, I would also like to exchange it with senior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix. But I don't know what senior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix likes." Being able to control a grand starry sky, Yi Jiufeng naturally was not an idiot. When Chuan Xinluo proposed an exchange, she had already guessed that this talisman was not ordinary. The reason why she proposed the soil that contained the breath soil was to see if Chuan Xinluo would agree to it or not. If Chuan Xinluo agreed, then it meant that the value of this talisman might be even higher than she guessed. Regardless of whether Chuan Xinluo agreed or not, she, Yi Jiufeng, would never exchange it before she figured out the origin of this talisman. Now that Ning Cheng also proposed an exchange, she became even more convinced that her talisman was not ordinary. Others might think that Ning Cheng and Chuan Xinluo didn't get along with each other, so he deliberately went against Chuan Xinluo. However, Yi Jiufeng didn't think so. "Oh, I like powerful little brothers like you the most. Why don't you accompany this elder sister for a few days, and this elder sister will give you this talisman, what's the harm?" Yi Jiufeng said while putting away the talisman in her hand. Standing next to Yi Jiufeng, the tall and handsome male cultivator named Shi Jinyu had an ugly expression on his face. Apparently, Yi Jiufeng's flirting with Ning Cheng made him feel very dissatisfied. However, whether it was Yi Jiufeng or Ning Cheng, he couldn't afford to offend them. Seeing Yi Jiufeng put away the talisman, Chuan Xinluo only glanced at Ning Cheng before looking at Striking Order and the others. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor took in a deep breath and cupped his fists towards Heavenly Emperor Shen Mao of Snapping Ascension Starry Sky. "Brother Shen Mao, you can open this box." Shen Mao showed a smile. "In that case, I won't be polite." After saying that, he raised his hand and opened the golden box in front of him. A dazzling red light shot out, revealing a red jade box inside the golden box. The jade box gave off a red glow, indicating that it was not an ordinary item. Shen Mao picked up the jade box and opened it again. A red fruit the size of a baby's fist lay inside the jade box. A faint fragrance overflowed from it, and the cultivators who smelled this fragrance immediately felt refreshed. It felt as if their cultivation had improved imperceptibly, giving them a refreshing feeling. On the surface of the red fruit, one could vaguely see one Dao pattern after another, giving it a mysterious appearance. Is this the legendary Dao fruit? Although Yi Jiofeng didn't recognize the opening Heavenchild talisman in her hand, she had a lot of knowledge about other things. Xiao Jiawei took in a deep breath and spoke up slowly. Yes, this is definitely a Dao fruit. I heard that Taoist Crow obtained a Dao fruit and successfully confirmed his Dao, allowing him to leave this positional plane. If he could, he would rather use his single essence heavy water to exchange for this Dao fruit. For people at their level of cultivation, a Dao fruit that could help them perceive Dao marks had an inestimable value. Who should take care of this fruit? Sun Jiha spoke up from the side. Although she felt excited, she also knew that this Dao fruit would never become her personal possession. I think it's better to hand this Dao fruit over to Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor for safekeeping. After this matter is over, we can talk about the distribution. Gua Sangon also had a small piece of this Dao fruit, so it was not unexpected for him to put forward such a proposal. However, everyone knew that Gua Sangon was Chuan Xinluo's follower. Therefore, it would be strange if this Dao fruit came out of Chuan Xinluo's hands. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor looked at Ning Cheng, and the rest of the people also looked at Ning Cheng. Apparently, they wanted Ning Cheng to raise an objection so that Chuan Xinluo couldn't keep this Dao fruit. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. He didn't want to stand out like a bird. He also didn't want Chuan Xinluo to obtain this Dao fruit. In case Chuan Xinluo obtained this Dao fruit, his strength would definitely double. But if he raised an objection at this time, Chuan Xinluo would never tolerate it. It would be a life-and-death battle. Chuan Xinluo could tolerate it, but he would never tolerate Ning Cheng blocking his path to Dao confirming. Or rather, Chuan Xinluo didn't know that this golden chest contained such a treasure. If he knew about it, even if he had some scruples, he would have forcibly continued to snatch it from Ning Cheng. He wasn't Chuan Xinluo's opponent. Therefore, standing up at this time would only mean helping others as a spear. Chapter 741. Only 4 people had the qualifications to stop Chuan Xinluo: Zhang Kongtianji, Xiao Jiawei, Yi Jiofeng, and Ning Cheng. The first 3 all obtained the golden chests and had not openly fallen out with Chuan Xinluo. Therefore, it was impossible for them to come out and stop Chuan Xinluo. Ning Cheng also obtained the golden chest, which meant that he was the only cultivator who had fallen out with Chuan Xinluo. If anyone wanted to stop him, then only Ning Cheng could stand up and stop him. But since Ning Cheng didn't stand up, Chuan Xinluo obtained the Dao fruit without any accident. After Chuan Xinluo put away the Dao fruit, he felt relieved in his heart. What worried him the most was that Ning Cheng would stand up and stop him. Just like Ning Cheng feared him, he also feared Ning Cheng. Now that Ning Cheng didn't stand up to stop him, he naturally felt relieved in his heart. Of the 5 golden chests, 4 had already been opened, causing everyone to stare at Ning Cheng's golden chest. Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't open the golden chest alone. Therefore, he had to open it in this place. The first 4 chests all contained top-quality treasures, which made Ning Cheng look forward to seeing what was inside his chest. The chest opened, revealing a 3-inch tall black gourd inside. The gourd looked ordinary, and ordinary spiritual consciousness could easily sweep into it. It didn't have any Dao charm, nor any aura, just an ordinary gourd. What is this? This time, even Yi Jiofeng couldn't recognize the gourd in Ning Cheng's hand. Ning Cheng reached out and grabbed the gourd. The gourd felt a bit cold, but his spiritual consciousness swept over the gourd a few times and didn't find any abnormalities. Turning the gourd upside down, he saw 2 words at the bottom of the gourd: boundless. I think this gourd is good. If Sect Master Ning doesn't want it, you can give it to me. Yi Jiofeng saw Ning Cheng's disappointment and immediately spoke up with a smile. Ning Cheng unhurriedly put away the gourd and spoke, Senior Apprentice Sister 9 Phoenix, if you want this gourd then you can give me that talisman, and then give me a branch of the wind thunder apricot tree, I will exchange it with you. Jiofeng giggled, but before she could speak everyone heard a creaking sound coming from the middle of the hall. Everyone in the hall quickly moved to the side, and soon, the originally plain pentagonal hall slowly opened up to the sides, revealing a dark public square under everyone's feet. Everyone stood at the 5 corners of the main hall and looked down. It was as if they were standing on a skyscraper and looking down at the ground below. Under the dim light of the surroundings, the pitch-black square appeared gloomy and deep. The cold and gloomy aura constantly rushed up, giving people a very uncomfortable feeling. From this pentagonal hall to the plaza below, there were no stairs, nor was there any place to borrow strength. Other than flying down, there was no other way. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out at the bottom of the well in this pitch-black public square and realized that the spiritual consciousness in this place was sealed. Even with his starry sky sea of consciousness, his spiritual consciousness felt severely restricted. However, this was not a problem for him. Whether he used the twin wings of the heavenly clouds or directly jumped down, he would not suffer even half a point of injury. I'll go down and have a look. After Zhang Kong Tianji said that, he jumped down without hesitation. Zhang Kong Tianji landed in the middle of the square below the Grand Hall, producing a loud rumble. Although he did not use any flying spells, Zhang Kong Tianji jumped down from dozens of floors, but he was not hurt at all. After Zhang Kong Tianji jumped down, the rest of the people also followed suit. In fact, even if they could not use their celestial essence or spiritual consciousness, it would not cause any harm to these eternal-level experts. However, Ning Qing knew that it was not a matter of the height of the building, but that this place was similar to the dry well he had encountered in the Time Wilderness. After jumping down, he found himself in a pit. Not only did it exceed the height of the building, but it also had a strong suction force. Kacha, kacha. As everyone jumped down, 5 or 6 people's leg bones broke one after another. Tang Yitong, Yang Yu, Shi Jinyu, and a few others had slightly weaker cultivation, so their leg bones all broke. However, for eternal-level cultivators, breaking leg bones did not affect them at all. In just a few breaths, they would fully recover. Ning Cheng was a body-forging expert with a starry sky body. Therefore, he did not even use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to land on the public square. Qiao Jirwei looked at Ning Cheng and smiled. No wonder Sect Master Ning could make brother-leveled hearts stop. This body-forging strength might even surpass brother-leveled hearts. Chuan Xinlo remained expressionless, as if he had not heard it at all. Ning Cheng spoke up in a calm voice. I don't know if I'm stronger than leveled heart Heavenly Emperor, but I'm sure that I'm stronger than you. Qiao Jirwei gave a cold snort and no longer tried to incite discord. The rest of the people did not pay any attention to Qiao Jirwei's provocation. Everyone's attention was focused on the top of the public square. Above this dark public square, there was a paper door. Gusts of nether wind blew over the paper door, causing it to make a crashing sound. Moreover, the paper door did not show any signs of breaking apart from the crashing sounds caused by the nether wind. Moreover, there were 4 words above the paper door, Hell's Gate. Before everyone could figure out what was going on, a violent nether wind suddenly blew over the dark public square. At this moment, even Ning Cheng's subtle spiritual consciousness could not stretch out due to the violent nether wind. The violent nether wind quickly swept towards the position where everyone stood. Under this wind, no one had any way to escape except for bringing out their weapons. Ning Cheng immediately brought out his everlasting Blue Thunder City, followed by Chuan Xinlo and the others bringing out their weapons. As for those with lower cultivation, because of the severe suppression on their spiritual consciousness, they couldn't even bring out their weapons in a hurry. A few screams erupted, and Ning Cheng saw 4 or 5 people being swept away by the nether wind. Even if they were in the eternal realm, they couldn't stop this terrifying nether wind. As for where these 4 or 5 people ended up, no one knew. The violent nether winds around the public square finally converged together. The 2 eternal cultivators, who had not been swept away by the nether winds, turned into a pile of bones in an instant. The nether winds came and went quickly. In just a dozen breaths, the nether winds that swept over the dark public square disappeared. However, half of the people on the public square had disappeared. Tang Yitong, who came with striking order, Yang Yu, who came with Chuan Xinluo, Shi Jinyu, the handsome man behind Yi Jiufeng, Jin Ming Qianbua, Fu Yingkue, Shi Haoyan, Heavenly Emperor Wu Hong and a few others had all disappeared. Only the 4 Starry Sky Emperors, Ning Cheng, Striking Order, Shen Mao, Mu Hao, Sun Jihe and Gua Sangon remained on the public square. Some bones were piled up in the middle of the public square, but no one knew who left them behind. Apart from Ning Cheng, who was in the life and death realm, Striking Order and Gua Sangon had the lowest cultivation, middle stage eternal realm. Although the 2 of them had escaped the disaster, their faces had turned ashen, and they looked embarrassed. Even Starry Sky Emperor Sun Jihe, a late-stage eternal cultivator from Water Immortal Starry Sky, had an ugly expression on her face, and her hair and clothes looked disheveled. It looks like we should get out of here first. This place is too scary. Zhang Kong Tianji said with a sigh. How do we get out? There is no way out of this place. Yi Jiufeng's tone didn't sound good. She regretted jumping in. Now that they were in this dark public square and their spiritual consciousness was restricted, it would be impossible to fly up again. After obtaining that treasure from the Pentagonal Hall and appearing in the plaza, no one was willing to be left behind. Otherwise, with everyone's cautiousness, how could they all jump down? Yi Jiufeng's voice had just fallen when a burst of whimpering sounds rang out around the public square. Everyone knew that the horrifying nether wind would sweep over once again. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor came to Ning Cheng's side with some fear. Brother Ning, I'm afraid I can't escape this second wave of nether wind. Ning Cheng understood Striking Order's meaning and nodded. Brother Striking Order, you don't have to worry. My Thunder City still has some use. Brother Striking Order can stay behind me. Gua Sangon quickly arrived behind Chuan Xinluo on seeing this. This was not the time to care about face. If they got caught in this nether wind, they would definitely die. If they got swept up by this nether wind, they would either end up in a pile of bones or end up as skeletons. Sun Jihe looked at Ning Cheng's side with envy. In this place, the best weapon to block the nether wind was naturally Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. Next was Chuan Xinluo's burning sky eroding sun pagoda. However, she didn't have any friendship with Ning Cheng, so she could only rely on her own strength to resist it. The whimpering nether wind blew over again, and this time, it even took on a substantial form. This was the first time Ning Cheng had seen a substantial wind, and it was a nether wind at that. Whimpering sounds erupted. Even if Ning Cheng brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort, which had a suppressive effect on the nether wind, he still felt uncomfortable all over. It felt as if his mind was about to leave his body, and this kind of feeling kept surging up in his mind. Ning Cheng secretly felt horrified in his heart. No wonder even those eternal-level experts got swept away by the nether wind. It wasn't just that one couldn't block this terrifying nether wind, but once one got swept up by this nether wind, one's essence spirit would immediately dissipate. With one's essence spirit dissipating, coupled with the suppression of one's spiritual consciousness and cultivation, it would be a wonder if anything good could happen in the end. Blue lightning flashed within the everlasting blue thunder fort. After the everlasting blue thunder fort blocked the nether wind, the lightning arcs once again bombarded it and quickly swept it away from Ning Cheng's side. Ning Cheng had just breathed in a sigh of relief when he heard Gua Sangon scream, "Piercing heart?" Gua Sangon only managed to call out 2 words before his voice abruptly stopped. Apparently, the nether wind had swept him away. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was the most powerful in this place. Therefore, he could clearly see Chuan Xinluo pushing Gua Sangon. After a dozen breaths, the nether wind finally calmed down, and another person disappeared. Gua Sangon had disappeared, and Ning Cheng saw him being swept away by the nether wind with his own eyes. Ning Cheng's face remained calm. He knew that when Gua Sangon was swept away by the nether wind, not only did Chuan Xinluo not save him, but Chuan Xinluo also plotted against him from behind. Gua Sangon was Chuan Xinluo's little brother. Even if Chuan Xinluo obtained the Dao fruit, it was only because of Gua Sangon's suggestion that he had the chance. It stood to reason that Chuan Xinluo had to save Gua Sangon. But in fact, not only did Chuan Xinluo not save Guosangon, but he also pushed Guosangon. Chapter 742. Ning Cheng's thoughts raced a little before he understood the mystery behind it. Chuan Xinluo truly had a thick heart. He had even used Guosangon to deal with him before. It's just that Chuan Xinluo didn't expect that he wasn't an ant that he could easily crush. Guosangon didn't have the ability to deal with Ning Cheng at all. Now that Chuan Xinluo obtained the Dao fruit, as long as he went back into seclusion, he would most likely take another step forward. At this time, Chuan Xinluo hoped that nothing unexpected would happen. For Chuan Xinluo, Ning Cheng was just an accident. Once everyone got out of here, he would most likely find trouble with Guosangon. Since Guosangon wasn't his opponent, he could only seek shelter from Chuan Xinluo. Chuan Xinluo, as Guosangon's elder brother, naturally couldn't sit back and watch Ning Cheng destroy Guosangon. It's just that Chuan Xinluo didn't have the confidence to kill him. How could Chuan Xinluo get injured at this critical moment when he obtained the Dao fruit and was about to reach Dao confirming realm? Not only could he not get injured, but he also didn't want to offend Ning Cheng. Since Chuan Xinluo didn't want to offend him, he could only let Guosangon disappear. Chuan Xinluo didn't expect Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness to be so powerful that he could see his small movements amidst the nether winds. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. Compared to these heavenly emperors, he was as kind as a blank piece of paper. If this goes on, none of us will survive. Yi Jiufeng's face turned gloomy. The nether winds grew stronger and stronger, and she wasn't wrong in her words. Sun Jiha subconsciously moved closer to Ning Cheng. Her clothes had already been torn apart by the nether winds, and her face had turned ugly. If it came a third time, maybe only Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort could stop it. She approached Ning Cheng intending to seek shelter from Ning Cheng, just like striking order. However, she was a starry sky heavenly emperor and had nothing to do with Ning Cheng. This time, without Ning Cheng's consent, she was too embarrassed to ask for help. Zhang Kong Tianji and Xiao Jierwei didn't speak, apparently agreeing with Yi Jiufeng's words. But even if they agreed, if they couldn't come up with a good solution, they couldn't do anything about it. Sect Master Ning, the ancient shadow temple is your stately river star's territory. Do you have a good idea? Yi Jiufeng saw that no one could come up with a solution, so she looked at Cheng and asked. Ning Cheng looked at the paper door in the distance, but before he could speak, another burst of sobbing sounds could be heard. It was obvious that the third wave of Yin wind would blow over soon. Everyone's face turned ugly, and Sun Jiha, who had a weaker cultivation base, turned pale. She had just entered the late-stage eternal realm, and it wasn't easy for her to persist until now. Otherwise, with her identity as a heavenly emperor, how could she seek shelter from Ning Cheng? There is no way out of this place. Even if we find a way out at the edge of the square, it will be too late. My idea is to enter the gates of hell first. As soon as Ning Cheng's words came out, all the people were shocked. Enter the gates of hell? When the chilly wind came, it seemed that there was also a hell's gate in this paper door. Wouldn't it be courting death if he were to enter a place where evil winds wreaked havoc? After Ning Cheng made this decision, he did not wait for the others to answer, and immediately rushed towards the hell's gate. It had nothing to do with him whether others came in or not. He would go in first. Seeing Ning Cheng rush into the hell's gate, striking order only hesitated for a moment before rushing in after Ning Cheng. Since Ning Cheng had already left, staying here would only lead to death. Therefore, he might as well follow behind Ning Cheng. Sun Jia, Mu Hao and the others also rushed in. As the whimpers of the chilly wind grew louder and louder, Chuan Xinluo and the others had no choice but to rush into the Hell's Gate. As Ning Cheng said, apart from the Hell's Gate, there was really no other place to go. After everyone entered the paper door closed with a squeak. Apart from the rustling sound of the paper on the paper door from the outside, everyone's divine sense could no longer sense anything in the square outside. An incomparably huge pool appeared in front of everyone. The water in this pool was like ink, black and shiny. Ning Cheng's suppressed spiritual consciousness could not see through the bottom of the pool. At the edge of the pool, there was a stone tablet with 3 black characters carved on it, Yellow Spring Pool. There were 2 doors on the opposite side of the Yellow Spring Pool, one of which had a red, life, character written on it. It looked bloody and horrifying, while the other door had a black, death, character written on it. Whether it was the life, character or the death, character, it made people feel uncomfortable looking at it. Apart from the 2 doors and the pool, there was nothing else here. There are only 2 doors of life and death here. Whether we go in or not, we have no way out. Zhang Kong Tianji spoke with a deep voice. No one answered Zhang Kong Tianji's words. No matter which door they entered, it would not be a simple matter. The rattling sound of the paper door outside became even clearer. It felt as if the paper door would break open in the next moment, allowing the chilly wind to sweep in. Zhang Kong Tianji gave a snort. In that case, I'll be leaving first. With that, Zhang Kong Tianji rushed into the death gate. As soon as Zhang Kong Tianji entered, a wave of yin qi swept over, and Zhang Kong Tianji's aura completely disappeared. No one spoke, and no one felt that Zhang Kong Tianji chose the death gate. I'm leaving too. Yi Jiufeng finished and rushed in. In this narrow place, it felt too depressing. If it were just depressing, it would have been fine. But as soon as everyone came in, they felt the aura of death. One could say that the longer they stayed in this place, the heavier the oppressive aura of death became. Even if everyone here was an eternal cultivator, they couldn't resist the 6th sense of death. One couldn't say that Zhang Kong Tianji chose the wrong door. Although he entered the death gate, who could say for sure which of the 2 doors of life and death would lead to survival? Moreover, the cold aura from the life gate and the bloody life character made people feel uncomfortable. However, not everyone had the same thoughts as Zhang Kong Tianji. Yi Jiufeng chose the life gate. Similarly, after she entered, she disappeared without a trace, without any aura. Chuan Xinlo glanced at Ning Cheng coldly and rushed into the death gate without hesitation. Apparently, he and Zhang Kong Tianji shared the same view. The death gate was much safer. With 3 of the 4 heavenly emperors leaving, the rest rushed in one after another. Qiao Jierui also entered the death gate, while striking order, Shen Mao and Mu Hao rushed into the life gate. In just a few breaths, only Ning Cheng and Sun Jihe remained in the room. The sound of the nether wind hitting the paper door grew louder and louder. Every time it slammed into the paper door, it made people feel a little flustered. Sun Jihe looked at Ning Cheng and asked carefully, "Sect Master Ning, I really didn't come here to help Sangong. I came here purely for the ancient Shadow Temple. If I had known that I wouldn't get anything in here and might even die, I definitely wouldn't have come here." Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. Senior Apprentice Sister Sun worries too much. I never thought that Senior Apprentice Sister Sun would come here to help Sangong or anyone else. Many thanks for Sect Master Ning's magnanimity. If this Sun Jihe doesn't die this time, I will definitely make a special trip to the mysterious yellow sect to thank. Sun Jihe hadn't finished her words when the violent nether wind hit them again. Ning Cheng felt moved and brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort to help Sun Jihe block it. As the nether wind passed, Sun Jihe spoke up gratefully, "Many thanks for Sect Master Ning's help. Why don't Sect Master Ning leave this place together?" Ning Cheng shook his head. "Senior Apprentice Sister Sun can go first. I'll take a while to prepare." After that, Ning Cheng added, "I think the death gate is safer. Of course, it's just my intuition." Ning Cheng knew that Sun Jihe wanted to ask him which gate to enter, but Sun Jihe wasn't sure. When Sun Jihe heard Ning Cheng's words, she quickly thanked him. "Many thanks, Sect Master Ning. I'll take my leave first." With that, Sun Jihe's figure flashed and disappeared into the death gate. She really listened to Ning Cheng's words and entered the death gate. After everyone left, Ning Cheng didn't enter any of the gates. Instead, he stared at the pitch-black pool in front of him. If it weren't for the familiar aura he felt from the pool, he would have entered one of the gates by now. This was because he had sensed a familiar aura from the pool when he had arrived. Moreover, he now remembered what this aura was. It was Grey Tutut's aura. Grey Tutut had followed him for many years, and he later placed Grey Tutut with Rulin. Grey Tutut had helped Rulin find cultivation resources, but it ended up running away. Because Grey Tutut had disappeared around covered Snow City, Ning Cheng had searched for a few days but couldn't find any clues. What he didn't expect was that he would feel Gray Tutut's aura in this pitch-black yellow spring pool. With Gray Tutut's strength, it was impossible for him to come here by himself. Now that Gray Tutut appeared here, it meant that someone else must have brought him here. Since someone could bring Gray Tutut here, it meant that the ancient shadow temple wasn't as simple as it looked on the surface. If Gray Tutut hadn't followed him for a long time and helped Ruland find cultivation resources, Ning Cheng wouldn't have stayed here. This place gave him a very dangerous aura. Even if it was dangerous, he couldn't leave Gray Tutut behind after knowing that Gray Tutut was here. Ning Cheng directly brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort and jumped into the yellow spring pool. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was much stronger than other eternal cultivators, but he still couldn't penetrate the bottom of the yellow spring pool with his spiritual consciousness. To find Gray Tutut, he had no other way but to enter the yellow spring pool himself. As soon as Ning Cheng entered the yellow spring pool, the cold aura that could suck away one's essence spirit quickly attacked him. The everlasting Blue Thunder Fort was Ning Cheng's premier weapon. Therefore, even without an artifact spirit, Ning Cheng could still use the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort to split open the pitch-black pool water around him. The yellow spring pool didn't look deep, but after Ning Cheng came in, he felt that the pool was like a bottomless pit with no end. Ning Cheng held the Nirvana spear tightly and slowly sank to the bottom of the pool. The closer he got to the bottom of the pool, the colder he felt. It wasn't just the natural cold, but a kind of cold that permeated one's essence, spirit, and soul. Chapter 743. Ning Cheng didn't know how long it took, he only knew that his everlasting Blue Thunder Fort was constantly shrinking. When the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort shrunk to less than a foot in radius, his feet finally touched the ground. The flagstones under his feet were all dark red, as if they were stained with blood. Bursts of whimpering screams rang out around him, but Ning Cheng couldn't catch where these sounds came from. Ning Cheng ignored the sounds around him and continued to follow Gray Tutut's aura. Although the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort blocked the black water around the yellow spring pond, Ning Cheng still left a deep footprint on the dark red flagstones with every step he took. The whimpering nether winds surrounded the Blue Thunder Fort, but every time it got close to the Blue Thunder Fort, it would be blasted away by some lightning. Ning Cheng secretly rejoiced that he had the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. If not for the Blue Thunder Fort, he would have already been swept away by this cold aura. Even with the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort, Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't stay here for long. Once his everlasting Blue Thunder Fort was compressed to the extreme, he would have to rely on his own body to resist the yin qi in this place. After half an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng stopped. He saw a blood river under the yellow spring pond. This blood river and the black water of the yellow spring pond were clearly separated and had nothing to do with each other. They simply couldn't merge together. Above this blood river, there was a pale white stone arch bridge that spanned across the blood river. Ning Cheng stood at the bridge's head and vaguely saw a burst of nether winds rolling on the other side of the bridge. The mournful whimpering aura continued to howl endlessly. But this was just a vague scene, and he couldn't really see the specific situation on the other side. The bridge was shrouded in a cold aura, which made people feel intimidated. 5 words were engraved on the stone tablet at the bridge's head: First Bridge of Coping. Ning Cheng carefully stepped onto the pale white stone arch bridge. Every step he took felt like stepping on a hollow place. But even after his feet touched the ground, he was still on the bridge. This made Ning Cheng even more careful. He had only taken a few steps when he saw a vague figure. Guasangon? Ning Cheng recognized this figure at a glance. It was Guasangon. He had seen Guasangon being pushed into the nether winds by Chuan Xinlo, so how could he appear here? Ning Cheng quickly felt that something was wrong. Guasangon's face was expressionless, as if he did not have any thoughts at all. He only floated on the Bridge of Helplessness for a while before he slowly drifted to the other side of the Bridge of Helplessness and disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng, who was holding the Nirvana spear in his hand, felt sluggish. What was going on? Was there really an underworld? The other side of the Bridge of Helplessness was the underworld? Dead people would go to the underworld? Didn't this mean that as long as he crossed the Bridge of Helplessness, he would be able to find the souls of his acquaintances? Thinking of this, Ning Qing felt a little excited. Since he had cultivated to the life and death realm, he would never be scared off by something like this. Not to mention that there was not only Grey Tutut's aura on the other side of the futility bridge, but also the souls of other acquaintances? Ning Qing took a deep breath, calming his mood down, and once again took a few steps forward. When Ning Qing walked to a distance of almost 10 feet, a powerful nether wind swept over. This kind of nether wind was not only powerful but also very violent. The nether winds above Ning Qing's head formed a substantial nether wind vortex, which directly covered Ning Qing. This nether wind vortex was even more powerful than the one on the public square. If not for Ning Qing, but an ordinary eternal cultivator, they would have already been swept away by this powerful nether wind. Ning Qing crazily stimulated his everlasting blue thunder fort to block the wave after wave of nether wind vortexes sweeping over. If not for the blue thunder fort, Ning Qing estimated that he would not have lasted this long. However, even if he had the blue thunder fort, it was not a solution right now. Being swept up by the horrifying nether wind on the Bridge of Helplessness, he could neither advance nor retreat. If he stayed here for too long, he would eventually be swept away by this nether wind. It was just a matter of time, unless he entered the mysterious yellow bead. Seeing Guasangan's dead and unconscious life essence, Ning Qing naturally did not want to be swept away by the nether wind. Although the everlasting blue thunder fort continued to compress, Ning Qing still continued to drive his spiritual consciousness to support the blue thunder fort. Ka! A slight sound emerged, and Ning Qing felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness. He immediately felt shocked and cried out in his heart. Most likely, he had forcibly driven his spiritual consciousness, causing his sea of consciousness to crack. If his sea of consciousness ended up destroyed, then he would truly be finished. However, Ning Qing soon felt pleasantly surprised. His sea of consciousness did not crack, but after reaching its limit, it once again expanded outwards. Although his spiritual consciousness was severely compressed in this place, after his sea of consciousness expanded outwards, his spiritual consciousness still grew several times more powerful. After his sea of consciousness expanded outwards, everything around him became clear. The everlasting blue thunder fort did not require him to go all out, and once again expanded to a range of nearly 10 feet. After the nether wind swept over, the everlasting blue thunder fort directly blew it away. Ning Qing felt slightly relieved. The increase in the strength of his sea of consciousness, for him, meant that his strength had doubled. Previously, when he used Sunset's Twilight to deal with Chuan Xinluo, he could not injure Chuan Xinluo even more. One of the main reasons was that his spiritual consciousness was not as strong as Chuan Xinluo's. Now that his sea of consciousness expanded, Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness swept out unscrupulously. The opposite side of the Bridge of Helplessness still could not be seen clearly. However, Ning Qing could now clearly see the range of a few dozen feet in front of the Bridge of Helplessness. When Ning Qing saw a black stoneman in the middle of the Bridge of Helplessness holding Grey Tutut in one hand, and Grey Tutut's 4 feet seemed to be struggling, he immediately became furious. He rushed up without hesitation and shot out with his Nirvana spear. Boom! Ning Qing's Nirvana spear had not yet reached the stoneman when a black nether wind condensed and struck Ning Qing's Nirvana spear. A powerful backlash erupted, and Ning Qing, who was standing on the Bridge of Helplessness, was blasted away. The everlasting blue thunder fort, which had expanded to more than 10 feet, also shrank to a radius of 10 feet because of this backlash. Seeing that he was about to fall into the blood river, Ning Qing quickly stimulated his twin wings of heavenly fate and forcibly landed on the edge of the Bridge of Helplessness. At this moment, Ning Qing felt secretly horrified. If not for the advancement of his sea of consciousness, the backlash would have caused him to fall into the blood river. However, Grey Tutut was on the Bridge of Helplessness, caught by the black stoneman. How could he let Grey Tutut stay here? Ning Qing once again rushed onto the Bridge of Helplessness and shot out with his spear. Boom! An even more powerful backlash erupted. This time, Ning Qing was prepared for it. Although he suffered another injury, he did not fall into the blood river. When he walked onto the Bridge of Helplessness for the 3rd time, Ning Qing felt a little flustered. He thought that he could fight against a heavenly emperor, But in this place, he couldn't even break through a stoneman that had caught Gray Toot Toot. Facing this stoneman again, Ning Ching gripped his Nirvana spear and started to burn his essence blood. Gray Toot Toot had completely lost its spirit, and its head was drooping. Apart from a faint aura, Ning Ching couldn't tell if it was dead or alive. If he didn't bring Gray Toot Toot back soon, Gray Toot Toot might have really died. As Ning Ching crazily gathered his celestial essence, his spiritual consciousness tried to break free from the surrounding shackles. At this time, Ning Cheng's body had already formed a circle of celestial essence ripples. Even the everlasting blue thunder fort trembled at this moment. Thunder light automatically overflowed, blowing away the surrounding nether winds. Celestial essence solidified, and with the help of the everlasting blue thunder fort, Ning Ching once again shot out with his Nirvana spear. Catch it! The nether winds condensed in front of the black stoneman struck Ning Cheng's Nirvana spear, causing a loud explosion. This time, Ning Ching did not fly back. The Nirvana spear struck the stoneman's body. After the stoneman exploded, Ning Ching immediately tried to grab Gray Toot Toot. A nether wind, as if it had a consciousness of its own, rolled up Gray Toot Toot and disappeared on the other side of the futility bridge. Ning Cheng's body started to weaken, and a more violent nether wind came from the other side of the futility bridge, directly bombarding Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. In just a few breaths, Ning Cheng was blasted back. Standing on the futility bridge for the fourth time, Ning Cheng used the Nirvana spear to support his body, while anger flared up in his eyes. The last time, he could feel that it was not a natural counterattack, but a conscious counterattack. This prevented him from taking away Gray Toot Toot, and even caused him to sustain heavy injuries. Unwilling to give up, Ning Cheng continued to walk across the futility bridge. When he reached the place where the stoneman was, he only saw a pile of rubble. Apart from that, there was nothing else, not even a shadow of Gray Toot Toot. Ning Cheng deliberately stopped, but even after waiting for a long time, he could not sense Gray Toot Toot's aura. Ning Cheng had just stepped over the pile of rubble and took a step forward when an even more horrifying nether wind swept over. This time, Ning Cheng could barely resist and was blasted back to the bridgehead. The backlash from the everlasting blue thunder fort was too great, causing Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness to ache once again. This time, he finally could not bear it and spat out a mouthful of blood. If not for the fact that he still had some strength, he would have been thrown into the blood river just now. Standing at the bridgehead of the futility bridge, Ning Cheng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, while blue veins popped up on his hands. Someone definitely controlled it. Otherwise, it would be impossible. After knowing that the other side of the futility bridge might lead to the underworld, Ning Cheng even felt a little excited. He wondered if he could find Sun Hanrui and Yu Qing. But now it seemed that he was naive. With his strength, not to mention finding Yu Qing and Sun Hanrui, he couldn't even walk across the futility bridge. If not for his spiritual consciousness being too powerful, he would have already fallen into the blood river due to the nether wind. If Ning Cheng dared to come down from the dark yellow spring pond with the help of the everlasting blue thunder fort. But as for the blood river, Ning Cheng did not dare to go down. He had a hunch that once he went down into the blood river, even if his everlasting blue thunder fort was more powerful, the Yin Chi would turn him into a pile of bones in an instant. Offending the Yin soldiers, the crime is punishable by death. Jump into the blood river, never to reincarnate. A hollow voice resounded in Ning Cheng's mind, causing Ning Cheng's mind to go blank for an instant. He even walked towards the blood river, as if he should follow the instructions of the voice and jump into the blood river. Then, at the cost of never to reincarnate, he would wash away his guilt. No, Ning Cheng stopped at the blood river. As the mysterious yellow aura scoured his spiritual soul and sea of consciousness, he immediately sobered up. Just now, he had almost been affected by this sound. Sure enough, someone was behind this, otherwise, it would be impossible for him to do such a thing. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and looked at the other side of the futility bridge before speaking up in a cold voice. I will come back. After I come back, I will give you 10 times the treatment. After saying that, Ning Cheng quickly retreated. He knew that with his current strength, he couldn't do anything here. Chapter 744. At the same time as Ning Cheng retreated, a cold snort arrived. Even with Ning Cheng's cultivation, he still felt his mind shake. The next moment, wave after wave of nether winds assaulted him, causing Ning Cheng's life essence to loosen up, as if the next moment it would break free from his body. If not for the mysterious yellow origin constantly nourishing Ning Cheng's body and spiritual soul, Ning Cheng estimated that he would not have been able to persist for a long time. Ning Cheng's only thought at this moment was to crazily stimulate his celestial essence to rush towards the surface of the yellow spring pond. He had a premonition that if he delayed for even a moment, he might not be able to escape. An even more powerful cold snort resounded in Ning Cheng's mind, as a penetrating hollow voice sounded out from behind Ning Cheng. "You want to leave after taking my things?" After this voice, the winds and clouds above the bridge of coping suddenly changed. Waves after waves of chilly winds swept over. The nether wind hadn't even reached Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort when it caused the black water in the yellow spring pond to churn. Ning Cheng ignored it and continued to crazily burn his celestial essence to rush upwards. This time, Ning Cheng's speed of rushing upwards was much faster than when he dived to the bottom of the yellow spring pond. After he rushed out of the yellow spring pond, the black water in the yellow spring pond started to churn, and the roaring sounds grew more and more intense. Ning Cheng did not even look back as he directly rushed towards the paper door. He did not rush into the gate of life or the gate of death. He felt that there was something wrong with both the gates of life and death. If his sea of consciousness hadn't expanded and advanced, he might have chosen to charge through the death gate. Now that his sea of consciousness had expanded and his spiritual consciousness had skyrocketed, he wanted to use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to return to the main hall once again. Returning to the main hall was the safest path. Ning Cheng had just rushed out of the yellow spring pond when dozens of violent nether winds rushed out of the yellow spring pond. These nether winds rolled up the black water in the yellow spring pond hundreds of feet high before blasting towards Ning Cheng's back. Fortunately, Ning Cheng reacted quickly. By the time the nether wind from the bottom of the yellow spring pond reached the paper door, Ning Cheng had already rushed to the public square. The paper door rattled even louder as it was struck by the horrifying Yin wind. Soon, these raging nether winds rolled up the paper door to one side, before sweeping towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng did not stop at all. After he rushed to the public square, he immediately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. However, after Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness surged, he activated his twin wings of heavenly fate and flew out of the square. Bang! Several nether winds wrapped around Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort, causing the thunder radiance of the everlasting blue thunder fort to dim down in an instant. Then a series of "kaka" sounds emerged, as Ning Cheng's rising figure quickly fell back down. Ning Cheng knew that he absolutely could not land on this dark public square again. Therefore, he simply put away the everlasting blue thunder city and desperately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly fate. Without the consumption of the everlasting blue thunder city, Ning Cheng's speed once again rose by a notch. After a dozen breaths, Ning Cheng could see the pentagonal hall above his head. Right at this moment, another gust of chilly wind swept over. Ning Cheng had already put away the everlasting blue thunder fort. Therefore, this nether wind directly tore through Ning Cheng's domain and struck Ning Cheng's body. As Ning Cheng was hit by the cold wind, his whole body shivered. The next moment, his life essence was about to leave his body, while his spiritual consciousness and celestial essence also plummeted and rapidly weakened. Seeing that his life essence was about to leave his body and that he was about to fall down again, Ning Cheng immediately grabbed a leaf from the rootless green bamboo, chewed it up, and swallowed it. His life essence, which was on the verge of dispersing, slowly stabilized, and the mysterious yellow origin aura started circulating even faster. Feeling the strengthening of his spiritual consciousness and celestial essence, Ning Cheng desperately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. Just now, he had almost fallen down again. If not for the rootless green bamboo, he truly couldn't imagine what would have happened. No wonder the previous few eternal cultivators couldn't escape from this kind of nether wind. Boom! 2 more waves of nether wind blasted towards Ning Cheng. Just as the two nether winds were about to wrap around Ning Cheng's ankles, Ning Cheng rushed out and landed in a corner of the pentagonal hall. Not waiting for the nether wind to reach him, Ning Cheng rushed out of the pentagonal hall without even looking back. The nether wind seemed to have reached the entrance of the pentagonal hall before getting blocked by an invisible force. Nevertheless, Ning Cheng did not dare to relax. He kept throwing out array flags, sealing the pentagonal hall layer by layer. Half a day later, Ning Cheng completely sealed off the pentagonal hall before sitting down weakly on the ground. As the nether wind swept past him, he felt himself growing weaker and weaker. As for how Grey Toot Toot managed to get to the coping bridge, Ning Cheng still couldn't figure it out. There must be someone behind the coping bridge, but Ning Cheng didn't think that person could come out. If that person could come out, he wouldn't have escaped here so easily. Since that person couldn't come out, how did Grey Toot Toot get to the coping bridge? It was already the 39th day since Ning Cheng came out of the ancient Shadow Temple. 39 days later, Ning Cheng finally arranged the most powerful sealing array formation outside the ancient Shadow Temple. He had arranged this sealing array formation according to the requirements of the star-protecting Grand Array. Even for the array foundation, Ning Cheng used a high-grade Dao artifact. Ning Cheng had arranged the sealing array formation from the inside to the outside and had even arranged several layers of it. The terror of the ancient Shadow Temple left Ning Cheng with lingering fear. Jiangzhou Star belonged to him, and Covered Snow City was his lair. He couldn't let this kind of danger exist. Although he didn't want to move the mysterious yellow sect away, Ning Cheng believed that his sealing array would be more than enough. Even if something happened to the ancient Shadow Temple, he would immediately know about it. Under such a powerful sealing array, even Chuan Xinlo wouldn't be able to come out easily. Because Ning Cheng felt extremely weak when he came out of the ancient Shadow Temple. Moreover, after arranging the array here for more than a month, he looked even weaker at this moment. Fortunately, this was Jiangzhou Star. As long as he walked a little more, he could return to Covered Snow City to heal. Ning Cheng had just walked to the gate of Covered Snow City when he saw Ning Ruolin running out in a hurry. "Ruolin, what's the matter?" Ning Cheng called out in confusion. "Brother." Ning Ruolin immediately showed a happy expression on her face when she saw Ning Cheng. She immediately rushed over and rushed into Ning Cheng's arms. "Woo! You scared me to death. I thought you wouldn't come back." Ning Cheng patted Ning Ruolin on the shoulder and comforted her. "Ruolin, what the hell is going on?" Seeing Ning Ruolin, Ning Cheng felt very happy. Ruolin had already reached the Celestial Shatterer realm after going into seclusion for some time. From this, it could be seen that with the support of a lot of cultivation resources, Ruolin's cultivation speed had increased by leaps and bounds. Ruolan finally calmed down but still spoke up with some lingering fear. According to the rumors outside, nearly 20 Eternal-level experts went to the ancient Shadow Temple, but none of them came out. All of them died in the ancient Shadow Temple. When I heard the news, I immediately felt anxious and wanted to find you. Ning Cheng frowned. Even if none of the people who entered the ancient Shadow Temple came out, how did this news spread? It stood to reason that they had entered the ancient Shadow Temple for less than 2 months. Even if an eternal powerhouse didn't appear for 2 years, no one would spread rumors about him dying. But Ning Cheng knew that if he hadn't returned the way he came, this rumor might have been true. Was he the only person who came out after entering the ancient Shadow Temple? "Brother, it's good that you're all right. It means that those rumors are false." Ning Ruolin spoke with a relaxed tone. Ning Cheng looked at Ning Ruolin cautiously. "Ruolin, remember, if you hear such rumors in the future, don't believe them. Think about it, if I died in the ancient Shadow Temple, what's the use of you going in?" Ning Ruolin also knew that Ning Cheng was right and nodded. "I know, brother. Do you still want to go out this time?" "Well, I have to go out to take care of some things. I haven't heard from your sister-in-law Luofei and sister-in-law Qianghua yet. Also, I have to go to Culmination Starry Sky. Ruolin, when I'm not around, you must work hard in seclusion. Put everything else aside as long as your own strength is strong enough, that is the hard truth." Ning Cheng exhorted. Ning Ruolin nodded and stopped talking. She knew that the gap between her strength and her big brother's was getting bigger and bigger. If she didn't work hard in cultivation, she would only drag her big brother down in the future. By the way, a person named Duan Gantai came to Stately River Star to look for you. Sect Master Tsong stopped him outside and didn't allow him to enter Stately River Star. Just as Ning Rulin finished speaking, Tsong Tsaiha came out with several people following behind Tsong Tsaiha. Sect Master? Tsong Tsaiha also felt happy when he saw Ning Cheng. There were rumors that none of the eternal powerhouses who entered the ancient Shadow Temple had come out, but Tsong Tsaiha believed it. As an eternal powerhouse, he could more or less sense eternal cultivators. What's more, how could he not know that the ancient Shadow Temple was located in Stately River Star? Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, Sect Master Tsong has worked hard while I was away. Greetings, Senior Ning. Two heaven-seated cultivators came forward and bowed to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng nodded. One of the two was O Zhenkong, the one he had placed a restriction on. From the looks of it, the restriction must have been forcibly sealed. If he hadn't appeared, O Zhenkong would have been in grave danger. Senior, this is my uncle O Xingshang. My uncle sent me and Dao friend Warren to Stately River Star. O Zhenkong couldn't contain the excitement in his heart after seeing Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng had placed a restriction on him, which he couldn't remove. If Ning Cheng really fell in the ancient Shadow Temple, he could only accept his fate. Mysterious Yellow Sect's Deputy Sect Master Tsong Tsaiha was not only the premier Pill Emperor but also a late-stage eternal powerhouse. Even without Ning Cheng, his O clan couldn't afford to offend him. Greetings, Sect Master. Warren and Yu Wanshue had long wanted to come up and greet him, but Ning Cheng had been talking to someone else. It could be said that Ning Cheng had saved the two of them. Without Ning Cheng, they would have died a long time ago. Although everyone treated them politely after they arrived at covered Snow City. Before meeting Ning Cheng, they had always felt some knots in their hearts. Ning Cheng chuckled, we're all friends, so there's no need to be so polite. What do you two plan to do in the future? Warren and Yu Wanshue quickly spoke up, Sect Master, we want to join the mysterious Yellow Sect. Ning Cheng directly took out 2 jade bottles and handed them to the two before saying, these are Accordance Heavenly Pills. Go into seclusion and prepare to advance to the heaven-seated realm. After you advance to the heaven-seated realm, you will become elders of the mysterious Yellow Sect. If Warren and Yu Wanshue didn't intend to join the mysterious Yellow Sect, Ning Cheng would have politely entertained them and then sent them away. However, he would never take out the Accordance Heavenly Pills. His Accordance Heavenly Pills weren't something that came out of nowhere. Although they vaguely knew that Ning Cheng might want to cultivate them, Warren and Yu Wanshue still couldn't contain their excitement when they received the Accordance Heavenly Pills. They had been rogue cultivators for their entire lives and had taken countless risks, but they might not even get a single Accordance Heavenly Pill. Cultivating within the starry sky truly required opportunities. Chapter 745. O Zhenkong felt a little anxious on the side, but even if he felt anxious, he did not dare to interrupt Ning Cheng's words. Fortunately, after Ning Cheng handed the medicinal pills to Warren and Yu Wanshue, he raised his hand and slapped O Zhenkong's glabella. O Zhenkong didn't even have the chance to stop it. O Xingshang's expression changed, but he didn't dare to stop them. When Ning Cheng's palm left O Zhenkong's glabella, O Zhenkong immediately bowed to Ning Cheng in surprise. Many thanks, Senior, for removing the restriction on this junior. O Xingshang heaved a sigh of relief when he heard O Zhenkong, and he hurriedly bowed to express his gratitude. It was really difficult for a family like theirs to produce a Sky Realm powerhouse. If O Zhenkong were to fall, it would absolutely be a huge blow to the O clan. Ning Cheng nodded and asked Warren, you should have gone to Chung Rulin Artifact Crafting Store, right? Did you see Jian Jiao? Warren shook his head. We were waiting in Chung Rulin Artifact Crafting Store. I've heard about Junior Apprentice Brother Jian Jiao, but when we arrived, Junior Apprentice Brother Jian Jiao had not returned. Ning Cheng suddenly frowned. According to the words of the shop assistant who was familiar with Jian Jiao should have already returned. If he hadn't returned yet, then it was very likely that something had happened. You can go back into secluded cultivation first. I also want to go into seclusion for a while. Ning Qing knew that something might have happened to Jian Jiao and felt a little worried. Therefore, he wanted to go and take a look. Ning Ruolin also knew that she had to speed up her cultivation. Now that her big brother was all right, she decided to head back first to continue her seclusion. Warren and Yu Wanxue had long since wanted to attack the heaven-seated realm. Now that they received Ning Cheng's instructions, they quickly said their goodbyes. After Ou Jinkong and the others left, Ning Cheng asked, "Sect Master Song, I heard that a cultivator named Duan Gantai came here?" Song Tsaiha replied with a dignified expression, "Yes, I was just about to mention this to Sect Master. This Duan Gantai and I met before and even had a vague confrontation. This person's cultivation seemed to have just entered the life and death realm, but his strength was astonishing. Even though he hasn't used his full strength, I can tell that he has great potential. He's looking for you. Sect Master, you must be careful. This person doesn't look easy to deal with." Ning Cheng secretly praised Song Tsaiha in his heart. Song Tsaiha was one of the 3 major rogue cultivators and also the premier pill emperor. If Duan Gantai were easy to deal with, he wouldn't have wanted to cooperate with him today. "Sect Master Song, I'm going into seclusion for a while. After that, I'll have to make a trip to the Devouring Bone Sea before heading to Culmination Starland. I'll have to trouble Sect Master Tsong with regards to the matters of Stately River Star and Mysterious Yellow Celestial River." Ning Cheng spoke with an apologetic tone. After the establishment of the sect, he rarely took care of things. Song Tsaiha originally didn't like to meddle in these things, but now that he was being pulled by him, he had no choice but to do so. Ning Cheng really didn't have the time to stay in Covered Snow City to manage the sect. He had too many things to do. Although he wanted to go to the Devouring Bone Sea for the Purple Light Treasure Eyes, his Celestial River Flame was still only at the 2nd grade Nirvana realm. If he wanted to improve his strength, he needed to improve his flame at a faster pace. In the jade strip given to him by Starry Sky Emperor Wu Hong, it stated that the Purple Light Treasure Eyes came from the Devouring Bone Sea. Heavenly Emperor Wu Hong was a good person, but unfortunately, Ning Cheng couldn't save him in time. Otherwise, Ning Cheng would have definitely helped them. It was already the 5th month since Ning Cheng came out of the ancient Shadow Temple. Ning Cheng once again handed over the sex matters to Song Tsaiha and left Stately River Star. He left a talisman for Song Tsaiha, a talisman that contained a trace of his spiritual sense. No matter where he was, as long as Song Tsaiha crushed this talisman, he would be able to sense it. During the 5 months of seclusion in the mysterious Yellow Sect, Ning Cheng, in addition to forcing out the yin chill in his body, stabilized his sea of consciousness. His sea of consciousness had expanded to another level, and his spiritual sense had also soared. Therefore, he had to spend some time stabilizing it. In the end, Ning Cheng refined the Measureless Gourd. After refining the Measureless Gourd, Ning Cheng had no idea how powerful this gourd was. Because this gourd didn't have any offensive or defensive effects. According to the information Ning Cheng obtained after refining it, this gourd's only function was to store things. Ning Cheng couldn't figure out why such a gourd would be placed together with the Opening Heaven Talisman's Child Talisman and even the Dao Fruit. After experiencing the dangers of the ancient Shadow Temple, Ning Cheng now suspected that the person behind the Futility Bridge had deliberately placed the 5 golden boxes there. Moreover, the person's purpose was to pretend to be mysterious and then attract powerhouses to jump down from the Pentagonal Hall. To be honest, Ning Cheng didn't hesitate to jump down at that time. It was also because he had the same thoughts as the other Starry Sky Emperors. That is, since the Pentagonal Hall contained so many treasures, then there must be even more treasures below. Who knew that after jumping down, it would be a deadly pit? In any case, Ning Cheng wouldn't return to the ancient Shadow Temple until he grew strong to a certain extent. At this time, he had already arrived at the Night Essence Celestial River. Strictly speaking, the Devouring Bone Sea didn't belong to the Night Essence Celestial River. Originally, there was an uninhabited planet in the starry sky near the Night Essence Celestial River. Because this planet had all kinds of poisonous miasma, coupled with the thin starry sky essence chi, it wasn't suitable for cultivators to survive. However, cultivation resources were limited in the starry sky. Therefore, when rogue cultivators couldn't find cultivation resources, even if it was a planet unsuitable for survival, they would still search for it. However, this uninhabited planet also attracted some rogue cultivators, which was how they discovered the Devouring Bone Sea. The Devouring Bone Sea was located at the center of this planet. One could say that this uninhabited planet had nothing but a sea, except for some land around it. This sea was the Devouring Bone Sea. Even an eternal powerhouse's spiritual consciousness couldn't sweep through a slightly larger planet. Moreover, the planet where the Devouring Bone Sea was located was several times larger than the average planet. Naturally, no one could sweep through such a large planet. After many cultivators discovered the Devouring Bone Sea, they found all kinds of heavenly treasures in the Devouring Bone Sea. Even many eternal powerhouses would go to the Devouring Bone Sea to search for cultivation resources. Although the Devouring Bone Sea had many good things, it was also a dangerous place. Of the cultivators who entered the Devouring Bone Sea, only half of them could return alive. Most of the cultivators who entered the Devouring Bone Sea would disappear without a trace. Skeletons often surfaced on the beaches of the Devouring Bone Sea, which was also where the name Devouring Bone Sea came from. Over time, the planet where the Devouring Bone Sea was located also came to be known as the Devouring Bone Star. Ning Cheng initially thought that there wouldn't be many people in a dangerous place like the Devouring Bone Sea. But when he arrived at the Devouring Bone Sea, he realized how outrageous his thoughts were. It wasn't that there weren't many people here, rather, it was as crowded as a bustling starry sky city. At the edge of the Devouring Bone Sea, a temporary city had already been established. Cultivators came here to trade, while cultivators formed teams to enter the Devouring Bone Sea. "Kid, you stole this old man's things and want to leave, don't even dream about it." Ning Cheng was just about to buy a jade strip with a map of the Devouring Bone Sea when a familiar figure appeared in the range of Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng immediately caught this person's voice. Whether it was the figure or the voice, Ning Cheng found it familiar. He knew this person. To be precise, he knew this starry sky beggar. In the starry sky, many people dressed up as wanderers or adventurers, but not many dressed up as beggars. Moreover, this fellow liked to dress up as a beggar and swindle people everywhere. Ning Cheng had almost fallen into his trap at that time. Fortunately, Ning Cheng was rational enough to use this old beggar once. Seeing the old beggar slap a man and a woman to the ground, Ning Cheng immediately flew over. "Hey kid, I was just about to look for you. I didn't expect you to take the initiative to come to me. This old man told you to go to Bright South Celestial River, why didn't you go? Don't worry, wait for me to deal with these two little things, then this old man will come and settle accounts with you." After the old beggar saw Ning Cheng, his eyes immediately lit up. He had wanted to leave a mark on Ning Cheng, but he didn't expect to fall into Ning Cheng's trap. He just didn't want to look for Ning Cheng. He didn't expect to meet Ning Cheng in this place. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile but didn't speak, nor did he leave. This old beggar was the Celestial River King of Bright South Celestial River. When he first met Bright South Celestial River King, he was still a celestial novice ant. His cultivation was worlds apart from Bright South Celestial River King. But when they met again, he was already a life and death expert, while Bright South Celestial River King was still in the heaven-seated realm. If he was an ant in front of Bright South Celestial River King in the past, then Bright South Celestial River King was now an ant in front of him. The world was unpredictable. Who would have thought that in such a short time, the strong and the weak would change positions? Bright South Celestial River King was still a chess piece under Striking Order Heavenly Emperor, while he and Striking Order had already become brothers. Bright South Celestial River King, on seeing Ning Cheng waiting on the side, felt a little satisfied. He stared at the man and woman in front of him, who he had just slapped away, and said, "Two ants dared to steal this king's things. What are your names?" Ning Cheng secretly felt disdain in his heart. This man and woman only had celestial novice cultivation. Ning Cheng didn't believe that two celestial novice cultivators would dare to steal something from a celestial river king. Most likely, Bright South Celestial River King had taken a fancy to the things on these two celestial novice cultivators and found an excuse to snatch them. Ning Cheng already knew what kind of person Bright South Celestial River King was. If not for the middle-aged scholar standing next to him, Bright South Celestial River King might have taken him away at that time. He would never have wasted an image card. This junior is Lei Junfeng, and this is this junior's Dao companion, Bei Xiaolan. Although Bright South Celestial River King had crippled the Celestial Shatter male cultivator's cultivation, he still spoke in a respectful tone without even the slightest bit of resentment. The people next to him could even hear the genuine respect in his tone. Ning Cheng secretly admired this fellow. If this fellow hadn't met Bright South Celestial River King and ended up crippled, he would have definitely become a powerful character in the future. Wait. Ning Cheng suddenly felt that the names Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan sounded a little familiar. At this moment, Lei Junfeng continued, "Senior, this junior must have been blind." Seeing Senior's glazed scroll gave rise to greed. While speaking, Lei Junfeng knelt on the ground and raised a painting with both hands. Ning Cheng's expression changed when he saw the glazed scroll. He finally remembered who Lei Junfeng was. Chapter 746. Not waiting for Bright South Celestial River King to take action, Ning Cheng raised his hand and took the glazed scroll from Lei Junfeng's hand. Bright South Celestial River King's face sank. A celestial novice ant dared to take away the glazed scroll before he even opened his mouth. Even at this moment, he still didn't think that Ning Cheng really wanted to take away the glazed scroll and instead helped him take it. Even so, he still felt uncomfortable in his heart. He didn't need this kind of flattery. You two have some guts. You stole my Rainbow Fall Sword sect hallowed treasure, the glazed scroll, and even dared to offer it to others here. Ning Cheng grabbed the glazed scroll and spoke with a cold expression. Only then did Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan see Ning Cheng. When Lei Junfeng saw Ning Cheng, his expression suddenly changed, and he quickly spoke up, "Lei Junfeng greets sect Master Ning." Ning Cheng had a huge reputation in the graceful Star mainland. As long as one was a cultivator from the Tian continent in the graceful Star mainland, no one would not know about Ning Cheng. Moreover, when Ning Cheng entered Heaven's Way, Lei Junfeng was still far from entering Heaven's Way. Although Ning Cheng didn't know about him, he knew about Ning Cheng. Bei Xiaolan greets sect Master Ning. Bei Xiaolan had always been hiding with Lei Junfeng, so she naturally knew about Ning Cheng's illustrious name. They had become traitors to the Rainbow Fall Sword sect and turned against the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. Although they hid in the dark, they had always been paying attention to the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. Ning Cheng single-handedly swept through the major sects of the Tian continent and even destroyed the top-ranked Red Star Sword faction. This kind of prestige made them not dare to come forward. Bright South Celestial River King gave a cold snort and stared at Ning Cheng. "Little thing, I just caught up with the thing I lost. What do you mean by taking it away? Do you think that this king would spare your life just because you met this king once?" While speaking, Bright South Celestial River King's domain opened up, and a powerful imposing aura pressed down on Ning Cheng. Even if he was slow, Bright South Celestial River King understood that Ning Cheng wasn't trying to flatter him. Instead, he really wanted to take away the glazed scroll. With Bright South Celestial River King's reputation, even those who did not know about Bright South Celestial River King, upon hearing this king's address and seeing Bright South Celestial River King's anger, would quickly step aside. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile and slowly walked towards Bright South Celestial River King while holding the glazed scroll. "This beggar, this glazed scroll is my Rainbow Fall Sword sect protecting treasure. It comes from a low-level positional plane. How did it become yours? Don't talk nonsense, or I'll get angry." Bright South Celestial River King saw Ning Cheng walking over unaffected, while his domain crumbled like a piece of paper. Seeing this, Bright South Celestial River King's expressions immediately changed. To be able to stroll around so leisurely in his domain, one's cultivation must be much higher than his. How many years had it been? This kid had actually grown to such an extent? He had traveled to many places in the starry sky and experienced many years. Yet he had never seen such a monstrous character like Ning Cheng. He had not misjudged this kid back then. There was a big secret on this kid. A trace of regret welled up in his heart, but Bright South Celestial River King quickly suppressed it. Forcing a smile on his face, he spoke, "So it's Sect Master Ning. I wonder if Sect Master Ning has the time to visit my Bright South Celestial River?" Ning Cheng was just a nobody. Even if he had heard of Ning Cheng's name in the past, he would not have taken it to heart. But when he heard Lei Junfeng address Ning Cheng as Sect Master Ning, he decided to call him Sect Master Ning. In his opinion, Ning Cheng's cultivation should have reached the heaven-seated realm, but not much higher than him. Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan looked at Ning Cheng sluggishly. Both of them were geniuses among geniuses. Only now did the two of them realize what a true genius was. This Sect Master Ning seemed to be a powerhouse among powerhouses no matter where he went. Ning Cheng spoke up with a calm voice, "You're just a celestial river king, and you can't even move me. If you hadn't inadvertently helped me in the past, I would have wasted you today for daring to snatch my Rainbow Fall Sword Sex Glaze Scroll. You can leave now. Don't affect my mood." While speaking, a powerful imposing aura pressed down on Bright South Celestial River King. Not only did this imposing aura instantly dissipate Bright South Celestial River King's domain, but it also prevented him from speaking for a while. In the face of this kind of power, Bright South Celestial River King's heart trembled. If he thought that Ning Cheng was an ant when he first saw Ning Cheng, then a dozen breaths ago, he had already regarded Ning Cheng as an opponent on the same level. But now, he was sure that the gap between him and Ning Cheng was just too far apart. Even in front of Ning Cheng, he was just an ant. Knowing that he couldn't compare to Ning Cheng, Bright South Celestial River King quickly cupped his fists and said, "Bright South is reckless. I haven't asked where the Rainbow Fall Sword Sect is located. Bright South will pay a formal visit in the future." Fearing that Ning Cheng would misunderstand, Bright South Celestial River King spoke very carefully. However, his words also represented that he was somewhat unwilling and wanted to know about Ning Cheng's background. Ning Cheng smiled. "My name is Ning Cheng, Mysterious Yellow Celestial Rivers Jiangzhou's Celestial Lord, Mysterious Yellow Sex Sect Master. But if you want to visit me, you're still not qualified." After Bright South Celestial River King heard Ning Cheng's words, cold sweat broke out on his back. He didn't know about Sect Master Ning, but he was too familiar with Jiangzhou Star's Ning Cheng. This was a person who called Striking Order Heavenly Emperor a brother. He had heard that named descendant Celestial River King had offended Ning Cheng and ended up getting killed by Ning Cheng. Named descendant Celestial River also became his territory and was renamed Mysterious Yellow Celestial River. Even so, Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor and Nine Phoenix Heavenly Emperor still came to visit him in person. They didn't even mention half a word about taking back descendant Celestial River. Since Bright South Celestial River King had offended such a powerhouse, no matter how many heads he had, it wouldn't be enough for them to ring it off. Bright South Celestial River King no longer dared to sit on the same level as Ning Cheng and cupped his fists. Instead, he directly bowed to the ground. "Bright South has eyes but failed to see. Seeing the glazed scroll, I became greedy and offended Senior Ning. Please forgive me, Senior." Despite asking for Ning Cheng's forgiveness, Bright South Celestial River King couldn't help but tremble slightly. He had also heard that Mysterious Yellow Sex Sect Master and more than a dozen eternal-level powerhouses, including the 4 Grand Starry Sky Emperors, had entered the ancient Shadow Temple. But now, none of the eternal-level Heavenly Emperors who entered the ancient Shadow Temple had any news about Sect Master Ning. Just thinking about it made him tremble. "You can go now. If you don't get rid of your greed, it will bring disaster to you sooner or later." Ning Cheng put away the glazed scroll and spoke with a calm voice. Yes. This junior will remember Senior's teachings. This junior will take his leave." Bright South Celestial River King didn't even dare to wipe the cold sweat from his forehead and quickly left. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. Didn't he feel the same fear when facing Bright South Celestial River King in the past? Did he have to address Bright South Celestial River King as Senior? The world was unpredictable. Now, Bright South Celestial River King had to address him as Senior, yet he still felt the same fear when facing him. Within the starry sky, It was indeed a powerhouse who spoke. If not for his higher cultivation compared to Bright South Celestial River King, he would have suffered a detailed soul search from Bright South Celestial River King. Sect Master? Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan, on seeing an expert like Bright South Celestial River King address Ning Cheng as senior and retreated in fear, felt even more flustered. Ning Cheng's gaze swept over Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan before looking at Bei Xiaolan and speaking in a cold voice. Dan Wenyao must have gone blind to like a woman like you. Sect Master? Bei Xiaolan's voice trembled. She felt worried that Ning Cheng could kill her and Lei Junfeng with just a raise of his hand. Get lost. You two deceived your masters and destroyed your ancestors. You deserve to fall into this situation. Ning Cheng berated. He didn't want to kill these two people who had lost their cultivations at all. Losing their cultivation in such a place was tantamount to death. To be honest, he didn't have any direct hatred for Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan. Although he had taken care of the Rainbow Fall Sword Sect's sect master for some time and had some feelings for the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. However, in Ning Cheng's heart, he recognized the current mysterious Yellow sect more. After all, the Rainbow Fall Sword sect wasn't his own sect. Many thanks, Sect Master, for showing mercy. Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan knelt on the ground and then slowly retreated. They felt even more shocked than Bright South Celestial River King. Ning Cheng had left the graceful Star Mainland around the same time as them. But now, even Bright South Celestial River King had to bow and call Ning Cheng senior. As for them, they had tried everything to improve their strength, only to end up like this. Ning Cheng looked at the backs of the two and shook his head. It was true that these two people loved each other, but even if they loved each other and wanted to escape from the Rainbow Fall Sword sect, it was just a matter of morality. However, these two people had gone too far. Not only did they betray the sect, but they even colluded with outsiders to snatch the yonder immortal Rainbow Fall Sword from the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. Ning Cheng could never tolerate such a thing. Otherwise, Ning Cheng would have just helped the two of them, and it would not have been impossible. Although the devouring bone sea was vast, most of the cultivators who came here were concentrated around a temporary city. The news that Bright South Celestial River King had to call Ning Cheng senior spread throughout this temporary city by the devouring bone sea in a short time. When Ning Cheng came in, the cultivators on both sides of the street immediately gave way in awe. This made Ning Cheng feel a little helpless. The law of the jungle, where the strong preyed on the weak, manifested itself even more vividly in the devouring bone sea. No one cared about this place, and the cultivators who came and went constantly changed their faces. The weak didn't want to provoke the strong, let alone clash with a powerhouse like Ning Cheng. Senior, what do you need? Ning Cheng had just walked into a merchant house when the shop assistant greeted him with a smile and a respectful expression. Ning Cheng found that although there were many people here, only he had a dedicated shop assistant greeting him with a smile. I need a detailed map of the devouring bone sea. Ning Cheng didn't want to stay in this place for long. After getting the map, he immediately set out to sea. The shop assistant hurriedly explained, Senior, the devouring bone sea is too big. Even the maps are piece by piece. If Senior wants to tell me what you are looking for, this Junior can help Senior find a map of a specific area. I want to find the purple light treasure essence. Ning Cheng didn't hide anything. He came here to find the purple light treasure essence. Moreover, with his strength, no one would dare to do anything to him. The shop assistant's face stiffened and spoke up in embarrassment. Purple light treasure essence? Ning Cheng could tell from his tone and expression that he might not have even heard of the purple light treasure essence. Something like the purple light treasure essence wasn't something ordinary cultivators could come into contact with. Even if it existed in the devouring bone sea, it wouldn't be in the periphery. Senior, I know about this thing. A sudden voice spoke up from beside Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng felt happy and was just about to speak when he saw Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan walking in, supporting each other. Chapter 747. Ning Cheng felt a little puzzled. It stood to reason that Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan should have gone as far as possible. These two fellows had met him. If they had met Ray Baishan, then Ray Baishan would have already killed these two fellows. Ning Qing didn't care about the Lei Junfeng duo and looked at the dark-faced youth with a smile. Did you just say that you know about the purple light treasure essence? It was this black-faced youth who had said that he knew about purple light treasure essence. This dark-faced youth only had the cultivation of late-stage celestial gatherer realm. At this time, on seeing Ning Qing speak to him, his face immediately turned red with excitement. Yes, senior, I have a jade strip here. The jade slip is a place in the devouring bone sea. It's marked with purple light treasure essence, but I don't know what it is. While speaking, this black-faced youth respectfully handed over a jade strip to Ning Qing. Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness casually swept through the jade strip and immediately knew that this young man did not lie. This jade strip was definitely quite old. Furthermore, the cultivation of the person who inscribed it was not low. It should be a fake. Thanks a lot. Ning Qing put away the jade strip, took out a jade bottle and handed it to the black-faced youth. These are a few soul-nourishing pills, I'll give them to you. Thank you, senior. The young man bowed and took the jade bottle. He was still a little disappointed. As long as he saved up for a period of time, he would be able to afford a few vitality pills. This was only a grade 3 celestial pill, and its function was to assist in healing injuries. It was not something valuable. The people next to him also felt bored. They had all thought that Ning Qing, a senior like him, would definitely come up with something really good. Unexpectedly, it was just a few vitality pills. Even though he was slightly disappointed, the black-faced youth was still very grateful. After all, a few vitality pills could be considered a small fortune. As he bowed and retreated, Ning Qing's voice suddenly resounded in his mind. Among those spiritual nourishing pills, there is also a harmonizing celestial pill. Whether you can advance to the celestial bridge realm or not, it will depend on your own luck. The black-faced youth trembled slightly, but quickly returned to normal. He forcefully suppressed the surprise and excitement in his heart and left the merchant building. He never thought that he would be able to obtain a harmonizing celestial pill. The harmonizing celestial pill was a medicinal pill that could help one advance from the celestial gatherer realm to the celestial bridge realm. Even if one had enough celestial coins, one might not necessarily be able to buy such a medicinal pill. Moreover, he couldn't afford it. There were so many celestial gatherer rogue cultivators in the devouring bone sea. Didn't they all come here to advance to the celestial bridge realm? At this moment, his heart was filled with gratitude towards Ning Qing. He knew that Ning Qing was protecting him. If Ning Qing had directly given him a harmonizing celestial pill, he might not have survived until tomorrow morning. After getting the news about the purple light treasure essence, Ning Qing just wanted to set out to sea as soon as possible. He glanced at Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan at the door but didn't speak. Instead, he turned around and left. Headmaster. Seeing Ning Qing walk out of the merchant house, Lei Junfeng quickly called out from behind. Ning Qing did not stop. While walking forward, he spoke out in a cold voice. What's the matter? Moreover, you are not disciples of the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. Do not call me sect master. Lei Junfeng hurriedly took a few steps forward. Senior, the reason why we came to the devouring bone sea is because we obtained a starry sky positional ball. Xiaolan and I no longer have a chance. So I want to give this locale ball to senior. Lei Junfeng really did not dare to call Ning Qing as sect master, but instead changed the way he addressed him as senior. Ning Qing took the positional ball from Lei Junfeng's hands in doubt, and swept out with his spiritual consciousness. Immediately, Ning Qing's expressions changed slightly. This was a starry sky map. This starry sky map somewhat resembled the starry sky positional map on his starry sky wheel, but it was much more detailed than the starry sky positional map on the starry sky wheel. As Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness swept over it, he felt as if he was looking at a miniature version of the starry sky. On this miniature version of the starry sky positional ball, Ning Qing easily found the location of the devouring bone sea. However, it didn't label the devouring bone sea, but only an uninhabited planet. On this uninhabited planet, there was a sea. In the middle of the sea, there were two words, Treasure One. According to the starry sky positional ball, this uninhabited planet was obviously the devouring bone star, and the sea inside the sea was the devouring bone sea. As long as one's spiritual consciousness communicated with this starry sky positional ball, one could easily find this location in the sea. Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan had low cultivation, yet they could find this place through this starry sky positional ball. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness left the starry sky positional ball in his hand and nodded. This thing is useful to me, and with your cultivation, you can't find this place. I won't take your things for free. While talking, Ning Cheng raised his hand and shot out 2 medicinal pills. The 2 medicinal pills seemed to have eyes and fell into Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan's mouths. Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan felt the broken meridians in their bodies instantly condense, and their lost celestial essence cultivation also recovered in an instant. The two immediately understood that this was a top-grade healing medicinal pill. If Ning Cheng hadn't given them this medicinal pill, even if they were in the Heaven's Mandate realm, they wouldn't have been able to obtain this kind of medicinal pill with their current strength. In just a dozen breaths, Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan's cultivation completely recovered. Even the broken meridians under Bright South Celestial River King quickly recovered. Many thanks for Senior's life-saving grace. Lei Junfeng knelt on the ground and spoke with a trembling voice. To be honest, the moment Bright South Celestial River King stopped them, he knew that he was finished. He didn't expect to survive in this desperate situation. Ning Cheng spoke with a calm voice. You don't have to thank me for saving your life. I have nothing to do with you. It's just an exchange of benefits. With your cold temperament, I wouldn't have saved you if it wasn't for the exchange of benefits. Lei Junfeng pursed his lips and spoke with a hoarse voice. I know that Senior looks down on me, but I do have an extreme temperament. When Xiaolan and I secretly fell in love with each other in the Rainbow Fall Sword sect, Dan Wenyao forced Xiaolan to marry him even though Xiaolan didn't agree. Rui Baishan also fully supported Dan Wenyao. That's why Xiaolan and I decided to take revenge and leave the sect. Ning Cheng waved his hand, and his figure flashed before disappearing into the depths of the devouring bone sea. Ning Cheng hated people like Lei Junfeng. To take revenge, he used his woman as a spy and even colluded with the enemy. He had gotten his revenge, but he had also taken back a black and oily green hat. Seeing Ning Cheng leave after restoring their cultivation, Lei Junfeng's face turned a little gloomy. He had only achieved half of his goal. He had imagined Ning Cheng sheltering them, or even giving them some benefits, but it didn't happen. Junfeng, it's already very good that we could preserve our cultivation. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to leave the devouring bone star and could only wait for death here. Bei Xiaolan and Lei Junfeng had been together for many years and naturally understood Lei Junfeng's thoughts. Lei Junfeng's expressions changed a few times before he sighed and said, Let's go, Xiaolan. One day I will also stand at the top of the starry sky and let those who look down on me and bullied me see that I, Lei Junfeng, am also a powerhouse. After entering the devouring bone sea, Ning Cheng encountered some whirlpools from time to time. These whirlpools had a strong rotational suction force, and if one was not careful, one would end up getting sucked into the sea. No wonder few people came to the depths of the devouring bone sea. Except for people with his cultivation, if ordinary cultivators came here, as long as they encountered a whirlpool, they would have no chance of survival. Even with Ning Cheng's speed, it took him 2 days to reach the location of the jade strip given to him by the black-faced youth. After arriving here, Ning Cheng finally understood why this place contained the purple light treasure essence. This place was a volcanic island, and Ning Cheng could feel the terrifying heat coming from it even before he got close to the edge of the island. The water at the edge of the island was boiling after being assimilated by the terrifying temperature. The steam vaguely covered the volcanic island. If it weren't for the devouring bone sea's sheer size, which allowed water to continuously fill up the evaporated edges of the island, the devouring bone sea might have dried up by now. Ning Cheng landed on the volcanic island and blocked the terrifying heat with his domain. Ning Cheng couldn't help but marvel at it. Under such terrifying heat, even an eternal-level expert couldn't enter the center of the island without a powerful defensive weapon or a powerful body-forging cultivation. Ning Qing didn't dare to bring out his twin wings of the heavenly clouds. His twin wings of the heavenly clouds couldn't withstand this kind of heat without undergoing nirvana. Ning Qing carefully moved towards the center of the volcanic island, and the temperature kept rising. Ning Qing's domain crackled under the heat, as if it would collapse at any time. Even so, Ning Qing didn't plan to bring out the everlasting Blue Thunder City. He just operated the body forging cultivation method while moving forward. Body forging in a place with such terrifying heat was the best option. Bang! With a soft sound, just as Ning Qing was about to reach the center of the volcanic island, his clothes suddenly shattered and turned into nothingness. A dazzling purple light shot out, and the purple light, along with the terrifying heat, bombarded Ning Qing's body. Under Ning Qing's body forging cultivation method, this tearing heat continuously refined and transformed into a powerful corporeal body. Ning Qing's pace grew slower and slower, and after an unknown amount of time, his bones once again gave out crackling sounds. Ning Qing stopped. He originally came here to look for the purple light treasure essence, but he didn't expect that his body forging cultivation would advance to the middle stage of the starry sky body before he even reached the depths of this volcanic island. Feeling the power of his corporeal body, Ning Qing opened his eyes and felt delighted. This definitely wasn't an ordinary flame. No matter how powerful his body forging cultivation method was, an ordinary flame wouldn't have helped him advance this quickly. Ning Qing's gaze then shifted to a purple crystal in front of him, which was the purple light treasure essence. At this time, Ning Qing felt sure that Wu Hong didn't obtain the purple light treasure essence in this place. If Wu Hong could come here, then he wouldn't have obtained just one purple light treasure essence. Ning Qing hadn't even started looking for it, yet he had already obtained a purple light treasure essence. From this, it showed how many purple light treasure essences there were in this place. Ning Qing raised his hand and grabbed the purple light treasure essence and put it into the jade box. Just as he was about to continue looking around, he suddenly felt a sense of vigilance in his heart. Was there someone nearby? Ning Qing quickly took out a set of robes and put them on. His domain and his body forging shield blocked the terrifying heat around him. Chapter 748. The fiery flame waves continued to rush towards Ning Qing in waves. Even with Ning Qing's middle-stage starry sky body's powerful body forging cultivation, he still felt restless. As long as he relaxed even a little, the horrifying heat waves would tear through his domain and shield. The aura came from the center of the island. After walking a few feet, Ning Qing had to bring out the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Ning Qing could reach the center of the island without bringing out the Blue Thunder Fort, but he only wore ordinary clothes, which couldn't block the heat at all. Unless it was a last resort, under normal circumstances, Ning Qing was not willing to face a stranger naked. After bringing out the Blue Thunder Fort, the pressure on Ning Qing suddenly decreased. After a dozen breaths, Ning Qing finally saw the aura he felt. It was indeed a person, and a woman at that. This woman was completely naked, and Ning Qing couldn't find even a single flaw in her perfect curves. It felt as if the flames had taken away all the excess parts of her body, leaving behind only a masterpiece of heaven and earth. She stood in the middle of the flames at the center of the island, letting the colorless flames surround and scour her body without moving an inch. Ning Qing was still a few feet away from the center of the island and had the protection of the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Even with his middle-stage starry sky body's body forging cultivation, he still felt a little overwhelmed. Moreover, this woman didn't even have an inch of gauze on her body. Yet, despite the horrifying flames lingering around her body, she didn't feel anything. The horrifying colorless flames kept brushing past the woman's white body, but they couldn't even leave a mark on her body. Ning Qing didn't have the mood to appreciate this woman's body. In his opinion, this woman had at least reached the peak of the starry sky body. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to remain unscathed in such a horrifying place. Thinking of this, Ning Qing secretly felt shocked. His body forging speed, in addition to his tenacity, had a lot to do with the mysterious yellow origin and the mysterious yellow formless. In this place, he actually saw a woman with a body forging cultivation much higher than his own. This woman had already reached the peak of the starry sky body, yet she still cultivated so desperately. In terms of pure willpower, she was also tougher than him. Ning Cheng carefully retreated. He didn't want to alarm such a powerhouse. It would be fine if he met a woman who was easy to talk to. But if he met an unreasonable woman with a higher cultivation than him, he might even suffer a loss. However, Ning Cheng only took a step back when he felt something wrong. This woman was a bit strange. To be able to stand in the center of the island and temper one's body, one's cultivation was definitely not inferior to his. Even if he was tempering his body here, he would be alarmed if someone approached him from such a close distance. However, this woman only had her aura circulating, and she didn't seem to be startled at all. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on the lower part of the woman's body. He did not look at the private parts of the woman's body. What he looked at was the light blue-colored stone slab that the woman was standing on. When his divine sense fell on this slate, it was instantly weakened by the terrifying temperature. The flames on this volcanic island came from this light green stone slab. This woman dared to stand on this stone slab to temper her body. How terrifying was her cultivation and physical body? Ning Cheng suddenly had an impulse in his heart. He wanted this slate. His spiritual sense carefully landed on the woman's body, and sure enough, just as he had expected, the woman's consciousness was completely blurred, and her primordial spirit was beginning to dissipate. Ning Cheng slowly gave out a sigh. He understood that this woman should have been unable to control such a powerful temperature in the process of body forging. As a result, he was injured by the fire poison when he tried to break through to the next realm. In order to save her life, she had forcibly sealed off her 6 senses, which was a result of her instinctive body forging cultivation method. One could say that if no one helped her, after her primordial spirit dissipated, her corporeal body would also end up burning, and she would eventually fall. Initially, Ning Cheng was still hesitating whether he should take away this blue stone or not, but seeing that this woman was about to fall, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved. If he took away this blue stone, it would also be equivalent to helping this woman. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng did not hesitate to jump on the edge of the blue stone slab in the center of the island. The terrifying temperature swept over, causing Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder city to give out ka sounds and instantly shrink. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and was just about to trap this blue stone slab with restrictions when he felt the celestial river in his sea of consciousness excitedly jumping around. When he picked up the purple light treasure essence, the celestial river had not jumped around. He did not expect that this slate would make the celestial river jump around. Ning Cheng felt happy and immediately brought out the celestial river. The celestial river turned into a blue light and fell onto the blue stone slab. Ning Cheng and the celestial river had a spiritual connection, which allowed him to clearly feel the changes in the celestial river. The 2 golden lights outside the celestial river flame quickly turned into 3. Although it could not transform into a 4th, Ning Cheng could still feel the celestial river continuously evolving. This blue stone slab was definitely a fire-attributed treasure. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng did not hesitate to take out the polar star nucleus. As soon as he took out the polar star nucleus, the celestial river attached to the blue stone slab immediately shot out a blue light. The blue light flashed and swept away the celestial river flame in Ning Cheng's hand. After a dozen breaths, the celestial river flame erupted with a temperature even more terrifying than the blue stone slab. Ning Cheng quickly picked up the girl standing on the blue stone slab. Otherwise, under the eruption of the celestial river flame, even if this girl was in an unconscious body forging state, she would still be burnt to a crisp. As the temperature of the celestial river flame grew higher and higher, it even sucked in the surrounding flames. Ning Cheng had a spiritual connection with the celestial river flame, which allowed him to clearly feel that the celestial river flame was growing stronger and stronger. As time passed, Ning Cheng completely forgot about the woman in his arms and looked at the celestial river flame in surprise. After the celestial river flame evolved into a starry sky flame, it produced 4 golden lights. However, the celestial river flame did not stop there, and a 5th golden ring slowly formed on the surface of the flame. After another hour, the celestial river flame gave out a crisp sound and fell into Ning Cheng's palm. It looked like a starry sky flower bud that had just bloomed in the morning. Ning Cheng took out a piece of robe and wrapped it around the woman before putting it aside. He then looked at the celestial river flame in his hand with joy. At this moment, his attention was completely focused on the celestial river flame. The celestial river flame had finally grown to a level that he was extremely satisfied with. Feeling the powerful power contained within the celestial river flame, Ning Cheng suspected that if he used all his strength to blast out the celestial river flame, even a planet would collapse under the celestial river flame. With the flame growing to such a degree, Ning Cheng only had one desire in his heart, that is, to find a place to refine the nirvana spear in his hand and refine it into his own weapon. Since he started to wander around, he had not found a weapon that he could use, which made him feel very distressed. The celestial river flame used the bluestone slab in the center of the volcanic island to evolve. Although the temperature of the volcanic island seemed to have dropped a bit, it still remained scorching hot. Ning Cheng did not care about the woman he had thrown to the side and continued to form restrictions on the bluestone slab. By now, he felt sure that this bluestone slab was not an ordinary treasure. Ning Cheng's current attainments in array formations were infinitely close to a starry sky grade 9 array formation. In other words, he would soon become a starry sky grade 9 array formation emperor. Although the bluestone slab emitted an astonishing flame temperature, under Ning Cheng's array formation restrictions, the temperature still slowly compressed. After half a day, Ning Cheng finally sealed the bluestone slab completely and put it into the 5 elements array formation in the mysterious yellow bead. The bluestone slab contained a terrifying temperature, so Ning Cheng did not dare to put this bluestone slab in his true spirit world. In case the bluestone slab's temperature erupted, wouldn't it destroy everything in his true spirit world? After Ning Cheng put away the bluestone slab, he felt the changes in his surroundings. The terrifying temperature of the volcanic island seemed to have been switched off, and it cooled down in an instant. Ning Cheng secretly rejoiced in his heart. Sure enough, it was this bluestone slab. Then he saw the pieces of purple light treasure essence around him. After the celestial river flame advanced to a grade 5 starry sky flame, the purple light treasure essence no longer had much use for Ning Cheng. However, Ning Cheng would never let go of such a worldly treasure. Soon, he collected nearly 100 pieces of purple light treasure essence. After Ning Cheng took away the bluestone slab emitting flames, it felt as if it had lost its bones. The bottom of the island started to emit crackling sounds. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and understood that the island was about to sink. He grabbed the unconscious female cultivator who only knew how to operate a body-forging cultivation method and rushed out of the volcanic island. Not long after Ning Cheng left the volcanic island melted at the fastest speed, just like a piece of dry soil falling into the water. An hour later, Ning Cheng stopped on another island. He placed the female cultivator on the side and sealed her with an array formation. He couldn't wait to bring out the celestial river flame and then took out the nirvana spear. He didn't know what materials were used to craft the nirvana spear, but he believed that if he used the nirvana spear's materials and the twilight sand, he could craft a top-grade spear. The celestial river flame fell on the nirvana spear and made crackling sounds. To Ning Cheng's disappointment, even if his celestial river flame advanced to a grade 5 starry sky flame, it still had no effect on the nirvana spear. When the flame fell on the nirvana spear, it couldn't even cause a ripple, let alone refine the nirvana spear. A day later, Ning Cheng put away the nirvana spear in disappointment. He really couldn't understand how a spear handle, obtained from a place without any cultivators, could turn out to be so hard. From the looks of it, he would have to continue to endure the torment of not having a suitable weapon. Opening the restriction again, he took out the woman he rescued. Ning Cheng decided to wake her up first and then go their separate ways. Previously, Ning Cheng had been focused on the advancement of the celestial river flame and refining the nirvana spear. As such, he didn't care about this woman's appearance. He only knew that this woman had a perfect body. It wasn't surprising. Body-forging cultivators, whether male or female, all had perfect figures. Now that Ning Qing noticed this woman's appearance, he couldn't help but feel even more amazed. Not only did this woman have a perfect body, but she also had a perfect face. Long-term body forging had caused her hair and eyebrows to turn yellow. However, with a beautiful jade-like nose, slightly closed soft lips, and a white oval face, it did not look out of place. Apart from Yu Qing and Qianghua, Ning Qing really couldn't find any woman more beautiful than her. After hesitating for a while, Ning Qing took out a leaf from the rootless green bamboo. He tore the leaf in half and put it into the female cultivator's mouth. This female cultivator's essence spirit had drifted around for a long time, causing it to turn unstable. To deal with unstable essence spirits or even losing their essence spirits, the rootless green bamboo was the most effective and simplest method. In just an incense stick worth of time, the female cultivator opened her eyes. She suddenly sat up. Her eyes swept around, while her spiritual consciousness also stretched out. Soon, her gaze fell on Ning Qing. "Did you save me?" Ning Qing felt a little strange. Didn't they say that the first thing a woman would do when she woke up was to check her body for any abnormalities? This woman obviously wasn't wearing a veil. Moreover, she was wearing one of his clothes. Why did she turn a blind eye to it and instead ask if he saved her? Chapter 749. Ning Qing nodded honestly. "That's right, I saved you. Your body forging had fallen into an unconscious state, and your essence spirit had also dissipated. If I hadn't helped you, you might have died." Ning Qing didn't want to claim credit for himself. Rather, he feared that this woman would use him as an excuse to offend her. It wasn't like he hadn't seen such a thing happen before. He had also saved Nailan Rushue in the past. But in the end, not only did this woman not know how to be grateful, but she also almost asked her master to kill him. "Thank you, my name is Yan Xishuang." After the woman finished speaking, she unexpectedly stood up. Ning Qing initially thought that he would be long-winded, but he didn't expect this female cultivator named Yan Xishuang to not care about it at all. Not only that, but even if he was here, she would still dare to stand up without any clothes on her body. Yan Xishuang didn't care about Ning Qing's surprised gaze. Instead, she used a few dirt removal techniques on herself in front of Ning Qing, and a set of clothes appeared in her hands. Even if it didn't matter to him, Ning Qing couldn't just watch a woman put on clothes in front of him. He still hadn't let go of his thoughts and could only smile awkwardly. "I'll go first." However, Ning Qing still had some doubts in his heart. He clearly didn't see anything on this female cultivator, yet this female cultivator could take out something. The only possibility was that this female cultivator, like him, had a space-type weapon that could be stored in her sea of consciousness. "Wait a minute, I don't know your name yet." The female cultivator didn't take long to put on her clothes. After saying this, she had already started tying her skirt. "My name is Ning Qing, goodbye." After Ning Qing finished speaking, he quickened his pace. He didn't like women like Nailan Rushue who would flip out without understanding the situation. Similarly, he didn't like talking to such a seemingly casual woman. Yan Xishuang had already put on her clothes and spoke with a calm voice. "You've already seen me, so what's the harm in looking at me again? Do I have to get angry at you and avoid your clothes? Is it because of this that you think I'm not a casual woman?" Ning Qing looked at Yan Xishuang in surprise. At this time, she wore a light blue dress, which made her look even more refined and full of spiritual energy. In just a short time, her sparse yellow hair turned dense and black, and even her eyelashes became clear. He was shocked by this woman's subtle observation. She could guess what he was thinking from his attitude. He could also read Yan Xishuang's thoughts from her eyes, which could only be described in one word: hypocrisy. Ning Qing once again gave an awkward smile. He found that he really was a bit hypocritical. Fortunately, Yan Xishuang didn't continue talking about it. Instead, she looked at Ning Qing and asked, "Did you take away that Nirvana Bluestone?" Nirvana Bluestone? Ning Qing quickly understood Yan Xishuang's meaning. The bluestone that he took away was called the Heaven-Burning Bluestone. This name sounded really powerful. "Yes, it was indeed me who took it," Ning Qing directly admitted. He had rescued Yan Xishuang, but this place wasn't too far from the volcanic island. With a sweep of his spiritual consciousness, he could see that the volcanic island had disappeared. Yan Xishuang didn't find it strange. She just took out 2 stone stools, sat down on one, and motioned for Ning Cheng to sit down. Ning Cheng sat down calmly. After Yan Xishuang's essence spirit stabilized, Ning Cheng could clearly see her cultivation. She was a late-stage eternal powerhouse. Even if she was a late-stage eternal powerhouse, Ning Cheng wouldn't feel afraid. Ning Cheng didn't know what the Nirvana Bluestone was, but he knew that it definitely wasn't an ordinary thing. Since it wasn't an ordinary thing, he wouldn't hand it over casually. Saving Yan Xishuang's life was to make up for it. He didn't owe anyone anything, so he could take it with a peace of mind. Even if he didn't take it now, he could still take it away after Yan Xishuang fell. Yan Xishuang's eyes flashed with a complicated look, and she hesitated for a while before speaking. I went to that place for the Nirvana Bluestone. In fact, if I hadn't refined that bluestone for many years, you wouldn't have been able to seal it and take it away. Ning Cheng only knew that the flames from the Nirvana Bluestone were extremely powerful. But he didn't know that this bluestone had been refined for many years. It showed that Yan Xishuang not only refined her body but also refined the bluestone. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Yan Xishuang spoke up again. I'll give you a high-rank Starry Sky Spirit Vein and 10 million permanent essence pills for your bluestone. What do you think? After hearing Yan Xishuang's offer, Ning Cheng only had one thought in his mind. That is, this woman really was rich. With so many things, he might even advance to the middle-level life and death realm. At this moment, Ning Cheng felt a little tempted. But he quickly understood that since the other party took out so many good things for the Nirvana Bluestone, it meant that the value of the Nirvana Bluestone was much higher than he had imagined. I'm sorry, but I have a flame that needs this stone to help me advance. I also like this stone a lot, but I can't choose to exchange it with you. Ning Cheng said with an apologetic tone. From Yan Xishuang's words, he understood that Yan Xishuang played a part in him obtaining this bluestone so easily. Seeing Ning Cheng not willing to exchange, Yan Xishuang felt helpless and said, Then can you lend me this stone for a while? I promise to return it to you. Ning Cheng smiled. This woman really was naive. They didn't know each other at all. Besides, he was her life-saving benefactor. Yet, this woman didn't even think about how to repay her life-saving benefactor. Instead, she wanted to borrow his things. This time, Ning Cheng refused without hesitation. He didn't even bother to say any polite words and directly said no. If that's the case, then forget it. Yan Xishuang stood up. After walking a few meters, Yan Xishuang stopped again. I have an important place to go. In this place, we might get a lot of wealth, or even countless treasures. I'm willing to take you there now. But because I found this place, I want 70% of the things inside. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. I don't want to take advantage of you. You can go there yourself and take 100%. Goodbye. After saying that, Ning Cheng's figure flashed and instantly rushed out of the island before disappearing without a trace. Although this woman thanked him for saving her life, she didn't take out anything substantial. If she didn't have anything good, then forget it. But this woman obviously wasn't someone who didn't have anything good. Now that she wanted to join forces with him to go to a place with treasures, it definitely wasn't because he saved her. Most likely, she needed his help. She needed the help of her life-saving benefactor, yet only gave him 30% of the things. It would be strange if Ning Cheng showed any interest. Besides, he also needed to go to a place, the location of the Starry Sky positional ball given to him by Lei Junfeng. That place was in the Devouring Bone Sea, and it was labeled as Treasure One. With the word treasure in it, it might be the place where the treasures were hidden. He didn't even have the time to look for treasures, so why would he join forces with others to ask for 30% of the things? Yan Xishuang, on seeing Ning Cheng leave so quickly, sighed and muttered to herself, without the Nirvana Bluestone, I don't believe I can't get in. Although the Devouring Bone Sea was vast, it was only for ordinary cultivators. For cultivators like Ning Cheng, who didn't face any danger in the Devouring Bone Sea, the Devouring Bone Sea was nothing to him. Under the guidance of the Starry Sky positional ball, Ning Cheng didn't take any detours. On the way to the location of Treasure One, Ning Cheng encountered a few sea mists. Ordinary cultivators would choose to bypass the sea mists when they saw them. Ning Cheng naturally wouldn't bypass them. Since it was a place with treasures, it naturally wouldn't be easy to find. If it were so easy to find, they wouldn't have waited for him to find it. Even if Ning Cheng had a middle-stage starry sky body and had the starry sky positional map, Ning Cheng's speed slowed down after continuously entering the sea mists. 2 days later, Ning Cheng stopped. According to the starry sky positional map, he had already arrived at the location of Treasure One. But to Ning Cheng's surprise, Treasure One's location was just a sea that looked different from the surroundings. The reason why it looked different from the surroundings was because the seawater in this area was dark gray in color. This dark gray seawater was completely different from the dark blue seawater on the periphery. Moreover, the dark gray seawater and the dark blue seawater were clearly separated, as if they were cut by a knife. But this wasn't the most shocking thing to Ning Cheng. What shocked him the most was that this dark gray seawater was nearly a foot lower than the dark blue seawater outside. Despite the wind and waves of the seawater outside, the dark gray seawater remained calm. Not a single drop of seawater from the outside could penetrate the dark gray seawater. This dark gray seawater not only couldn't penetrate it with his spiritual consciousness, but it also gave him a dangerous feeling. Was this the Treasure One? What good things could there be in this place? Ning Cheng hesitated for a moment before taking out a boat he refined and throwing it into the dark gray seawater. He wanted to go over and have a look. But just in case, he decided to stand on the boat first. However, after the boat landed on the dark gray seawater, it slowly sank. Ning Cheng couldn't believe what he saw. The boat should have been floating on the water, but now it was slowly sinking. Moreover, it was sinking steadily, without any signs of overturning. It completely violated some common sense. At this moment, Ning Cheng couldn't help but think of a sentence from Journey to the West: 800 miles of quicksand realm, 3,000 miles of water, goose feathers float, reed flowers sink to the bottom. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng found a feather and threw it into the dark gray seawater. Reality proved that this sentence was indeed true. That light feather slowly sank down without the slightest hesitation. "You actually followed me?" A slightly dissatisfied voice arrived. Ning Cheng didn't need to look back to know that it was Yan Xishuang. Although Yan Xishuang hadn't spoken, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had already detected her. "Fairy Yan, I think I should be the one saying that, right?" Ning Cheng turned back and spoke with a calm voice. Yan Xishuang paused for a moment, and her face turned a little red. That's right, it was obviously Ning Cheng who had arrived here first. How could it be Ning Cheng who had followed her? I'm sorry." Yan Xishuang quickly understood what was going on. "You also know about the 3,000 weak water rivers in the devouring Bone Sea? Is this really called the 3,000 weak water rivers?" Ning Cheng asked in disbelief with his mouth wide open. He then asked again, "Is there another name for it called Quicksand River?" "Quicksand River?" Yan Xishuang frowned. She had never heard of this name before. Chapter 750. No, I've never heard of that name. Can I ask you how you know about the 3,000 weak water river? Yan Xishuang added. Ning Cheng chuckled. I didn't know that this was the 3,000 weak water river. I obtained a starry sky positional ball, which contained the location of this place. It's just that this water looks a little strange. Do you have any way to get in? Yan Xishuang replied calmly, I naturally have a way. Well, since you're here, let's cooperate. How about we split the things in this place equally? Ning Cheng shook his head and spoke, I don't need to cooperate with anyone. Everyone does their own thing, and what they get is what they get. Saying that, Ning Cheng tried to enter the weak water river. He felt that this woman, Yan Xishuang, wasn't very sincere and always spoke with reservations. Wait. Yan Xishuang quickly stopped Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng looked at Yan Xishuang in doubt. You can also go in. Since everyone has come here, it's naturally up to your own abilities. Yan Xishuang shook her head. Ning Cheng, if you continue like this, even if you have a full circle eternal realm cultivation and a late-stage starry sky body, the 3,000 weak water will turn you into nothingness. Hearing Yan Xishuang's words, Ning Qing quickly stopped his movements and stood on his flight-type weapon again. At the same time he asked, "Why? Haven't you heard of the 3,000 week water?" Yan Xishuang asked. Ning Qing shook his head. He had never heard of the 3,000 week waters. Most of his knowledge was pieced together from different places. The biggest harvest was the fundamentals of crafting artifact crafting that Zhongli Baiqi had given him. If not for that fundamentals of crafting artifact crafting, Ning Qing would not have known about many more things. However, that book didn't have any records of the Nirvana Bluestone or the 3,000 week water. On Earth, Ning Qing had heard of the 3,000 week water, but he was self-aware and was very clear that the 3,000 week water that he had heard about on Earth and this should not be the same thing. Then you must have never heard of the innate 10 waters. Yan Xishuang said. Ning Qing once again shook his head, cupped his fists and spoke, "I still need to consult Fairy Yan." Cultivating until now, Ning Qing was very clear about where his weaknesses lay. He didn't have a master, so there were many things he didn't understand. For things that he did not understand, Ning Qing would immediately ask. If the other party was unwilling to speak, then so be it. If he was willing to speak, then he would understand a little more. Yan Xishuang didn't hide it. "I've only heard of 5 of them, and I don't know about the rest. The first type of water is said to be impossible to obtain. It's called the 5 elements divine water." Ning Qing was surprised in his heart. 5 elements spirit water, wasn't that the water he wanted to refine into the spirit transformation sphere? This water was the water that condensed in the world of creation the moment it was formed. Apart from the treasure of fortune and the living soil, who else could possess this kind of water? Right, the book that Zhongli Baiqi gave him contained information about the 5 element spirit water, so why didn't it mention the 3,000 week water? As Ning Qing thought of this, he immediately used his spiritual consciousness to communicate with his book. Then, he was surprised to find that the last page of the book was missing. That was the page that recorded how to make the soul transformation spear. Yan Xishuang didn't know that Ning Qing had so many thoughts running through his mind in such a short time. She still spoke up, "I don't know about the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ones. The 5th one is the seeking heart water." Ning Qing sighed. He had never heard of this kind of water before. The 6th is the 3,000 week water. Yan Xishuang finished speaking and looked at Ning Qing. "Now you should know how amazing the origin of this water is, right?" Ning Qing nodded in agreement. Thinking about the heaven-defying nature of the 5 element spirit water, he understood that this 3,000 week water wasn't simple. How could it be ranked alongside the 5 element spirit water in the innate 10 waters? What about the other 4 types of water? Ning Qing asked again. Yan Xishuang continued, "The 7th one is called the indefinite black water. I don't know about the 8th and 9th ones, but the 10th one is called the single essence heavy water." Single essence heavy water? Ning Qing repeated the words in amazement. Yan Xishuang asked in doubt, "Have you seen this water before?" Ning Qing spoke the truth. "Yes, I've seen it before. I've seen a drop of single essence heavy water, and I also know that this water is very heavy. A drop of single essence heavy water is equivalent to the weight of a small planet. It's a supreme material for crafting artifacts." This also made Ning Qing speechless. His book only contained the 5 element spirit water, which ranked first, and the single essence heavy water, which ranked last. When she heard Ning Qing say that he had seen a drop of single essence heavy water, Yan Xishuang couldn't help but feel a little moved. But when she heard Ning Qing say that he had only seen a drop of it, she immediately returned to normal and said, "A drop of single essence heavy water is nothing. As you said, it has no other use besides for crafting artifacts. If you had this much single essence heavy water, maybe you could dominate the entire starry sky." After saying that, Yan Xishuang pointed to the 3,000 weak water rivers in front of her. Ning Qing spoke up speechlessly, "A drop of single essence heavy water is equivalent to a planet, and this river is equivalent to a river, hee." After Ning Qing chuckled, he didn't continue. Yan Xishuang understood Ning Qing's meaning and spoke up calmly, "Do you think that it's the weight of many drops of single essence heavy water added up?" That's right. Ning Cheng looked at Yan Xishuang in doubt. If it was calculated according to one drop, how many drops were there in this 3,000-week water rivers? Each drop was equivalent to a planet, and how many planets were there in this place? The total weight of these drops couldn't even be measured with data. You're wrong. Yan Xishuang replied with a calm voice. It's countless times heavier than you think. It's not just a matter of 1 plus 1. As for the reason, I don't know. After a pause, she continued, that's not what we're talking about. In this positional plane's starry sky, there shouldn't be so much single essence heavy water. Since there shouldn't be so much single essence heavy water, why is there so much 3,000 week water? If I remember correctly, you just said that 3,000 week water ranks 6th among the 10 innate waters. Ning Cheng immediately spoke up. Yan Xishuang showed a faint smile. You're wrong again. If this place was filled with 3,000 week water, then the devouring bone star wouldn't have survived, and we wouldn't have been able to come here. Besides, there's only one drop of 3,000 week water here. One drop? Such a big drop? As if knowing what Ning Cheng was thinking, Yan Xishuang spoke up directly. It's not this big drop, but a fist-sized drop of 3,000 week water under this seawater. Because this drop of 3,000 week water fell here, it caused this area to turn dark gray and even collapse. What's the use of 3,000 week water? Ning Cheng couldn't help but feel tempted when he thought of the 3,000 week water on the same ranking as the 5-element spirit water. Even if it was just a drop, he still looked forward to it. Yan Xishuang explained in a very careful manner, don't look at this 3,000 week water stream as ordinary and without any abnormalities. In fact, the unrefined weak water is as cold as ice and can freeze everything between heaven and earth. Moreover, it's like nothingness, and nothing that falls on it would suffer any damage. It's just that if you don't go in, you can't feel it at all. After refining the 3,000 weak water, it could become his own treasure. This treasure generates its power according to the mood of the opponent. If the opponent fears the cold, this weak water treasure will turn into the coldest thing in the world. If the opponent fears flames, this weak water treasure will turn into the most terrifying flame. Of course, this isn't the biggest role of the 3,000 weak water. If the 3,000 weak water could be added to a weapon, it would bring out its real power. It's one of the most powerful artifact crafting auxiliary materials in the world. In addition, the reason why I want to cooperate with you is that only your Nirvana Bluestone can enter this 3,000 weak water stream. Otherwise, entering it would only result in death. Yan Xishuang seemed to have sensed Ning Cheng's character and decided to explain the role of the Nirvana Bluestone first. She had a hunch that Ning Cheng wasn't the kind of person who wouldn't cooperate with her after knowing how to enter the weak water stream. Ning Cheng didn't expect the 3,000 weak water to have such an important role. He took a deep breath and spoke. Fairy Yan, you just said that there's only one drop of 3,000 weak water. Even if we cooperate, how do we divide this weak water? Yan Xishuang showed a slight smile. I don't have the ability to take away this drop of 3,000 weak water. Therefore, this weak water naturally belongs to you. As for the rest, we can divide it equally. 3,000 weak water doesn't fall into a place without treasures. Since this drop of 3,000 weak water fell here, it means that this place contains top-grade treasures. Okay, I agree, Ning Cheng said without hesitation. He felt that Yan Xishuang's words contained a bit of a trap. But since Yan Xishuang didn't want this drop of 3,000 weak water, what was the point of being polite about it? As for the idea of kicking Yan Xishuang away after knowing how to enter the weak water stream, Ning Cheng didn't even think about it. Sure enough, Yan Xishuang's eyes flashed with excitement. Then you can take out the Nirvana Bluestone. As long as you throw this Nirvana Bluestone into the weak water stream in front of us, we can stand on it and sink directly to the bottom of the river. Now that they had reached an agreement, Ning Cheng acted in a straightforward manner. He didn't speak any nonsense and took out the Nirvana Bluestone, removed the restrictions covering it, and threw it into the weak water stream. Even feathers would sink to the bottom of the river, so Ning Cheng thought that if he threw this Bluestone into the weak water stream, it would definitely sink to the bottom of the river. As for what to do next, Yan Xishuang definitely had a way. But to Ning Cheng's surprise, After he threw the blue stone into the weak water stream, the blue stone didn't sink on its own. Instead, it slowly sank. Yan Xishuang flew over the blue stone and called out to Ning Cheng, "Hurry up! Only by standing on this nirvana blue stone can you reach the bottom of the weak water stream." Ning Cheng also quickly flew over the nirvana blue stone. But as soon as he landed, a bone-chilling cold hit him. This kind of terrifying cold made Ning Cheng wonder if he could withstand it if he hadn't advanced to the middle stage starry sky body. The nirvana blue stone under his feet emitted waves of heat that neutralized the cold around him. Your body forging cultivation is quite good. It's almost at the full circle of a starry sky body. Yan Xishuang's body forging cultivation was higher than Ning Cheng's. But even so, she still managed to condense some frost over her body. In fact, Ning Cheng only had a middle stage starry sky body. But Ning Cheng didn't answer Yan Xishuang's words. He thought that without this nirvana blue stone, if he jumped down rashly, apart from entering the mysterious yellow bead, the only other option would be to wait for death. Even the nirvana blue stone's terrifying heat waves couldn't completely block the cold of the 3,000 weak water stream. In other words, if he and Yan Xishuang weren't experts with a starry sky body, even with the nirvana blue stone, they wouldn't be able to enter the weak water stream. Something's not right. My nirvana blue stone is melting. Ning Cheng quickly discovered the changes in the nirvana blue stone under his feet. It really was getting smaller and smaller. Maybe the nirvana blue stone would turn into nothingness before reaching the bottom of the river. Chapter 751. Yan Xishuang replied calmly, "This is just seawater contaminated by the weak water. If it were the real weak water, the nirvana blue stone would melt even faster. Of course, you don't have to worry. This blue stone is enough for us to get the treasure and get out of here." The deeper the nirvana blue stone sank, the faster it melted. The space arranged by Ning Cheng and Yan Xishuang also grew smaller and smaller. From this, one could imagine that without the help of the nirvana blue stone, even the space arranged by the two of them wouldn't be able to withstand the erosion of the weak water's chill. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and stared at Yan Xishuang before asking, "We haven't even gotten close to that drop of weak water, yet we already feel so uncomfortable." According to this situation, not to mention collecting that drop of weak water, even getting close to it would be very difficult, right? You knew that I couldn't collect that drop of weak water, so you used my nirvana blue stone to come down? Yan Xishuang's eyes showed a slightly apologetic look. "I said that I don't have the ability to take it. I'm not sure if you have the ability to take this drop of weak water. It was impossible to get close to the weak water unless you used the nirvana blue stone. But if you use the nirvana blue stone, I'm afraid we won't have a chance to go up. Because the closer the nirvana blue stone is to the weak water, the faster it will melt. That is to say, I can't take away that drop of weak water, and can only go treasure hunting with you?" Ning Cheng spoke in a somewhat unhappy tone. He had already guessed that there was something wrong with Yan Xishuang's words, but he didn't expect that the problem was that he couldn't take away the weak water. Yan Xishuang nodded and said, "Yes, you can't take that drop of weak water. Ruoshui will not land in a place without treasures. We will join hands to take away the treasures and divide them equally. We will not suffer any losses." Ning Cheng spoke up in a calm voice, "That's because you don't want to suffer a loss. Even if I take out the nirvana blue stone, would this nirvana blue stone still be useful after we go up?" Yan Xishuang showed a faint smile. "Ning Cheng, you think that way because you don't understand the most precious part of the nirvana blue stone. The most precious part of the nirvana blue stone was not this blue stone, but the nirvana heart. The nirvana heart can upgrade the top-grade flame in the starry skies. As for to what extent, I can't even imagine it. As far as I know, the nirvana blue stone is very difficult to break. Only the 3,000 weak water can break it. I did indeed use your nirvana blue stone, but I also let you break it open and obtain the nirvana heart. The nirvana heart is a priceless treasure that cannot be measured by value. If you are willing to give me the nirvana heart, I would rather not have anything here." Ning Cheng felt ecstatic after hearing Yan Xishuang's words. No wonder Yan Xishuang wanted to exchange so many good things for his blue stone. Apart from entering the 3,000 weak water river, the other reason was Nirvana's heart. Could the Nirvana heart upgrade the top-grade flame in the starry sky again? In other words, once his flame reached the grade 6 starry sky flame, could he continue to use the Nirvana heart to upgrade his flame again? If you feel like you lost out, I can give you a starry sky spiritual vein. Yan Xishuang spoke with a calm voice. She felt that Ning Qing wasn't a person who would suffer a loss. Forget it. Ning Qing showed a smile. He placed a lot of importance on cultivation resources, and a starry sky spiritual vein was a priceless treasure for him. Even now, he didn't have any starry sky spiritual veins on him. He felt grateful that Yan Xishuang didn't hide the truth from him and even explained the role of the Nirvana heart. Compared to the Nirvana heart, what was a starry sky spiritual vein? If Yan Xishuang hadn't told him, he wouldn't have known that he had the Nirvana heart. Perhaps he would have known about it later, but who knew how long it would take? His celestial river flame was already a grade 5 starry sky flame. As long as it advanced by one more level, it would advance to a grade 6 starry sky flame. At that time, he could use the Nirvana heart to upgrade his celestial river flame. At that time, he wouldn't have to worry about the Nirvana spear not melting. Besides, if he and Yan Xishuang switched places, maybe he would have found a way to get Yan Xishuang to cooperate with him. However, he wouldn't play the same petty tricks as Yan Xishuang. He would speak frankly about the matter, and if she didn't agree, he would just forget about it. Cultivation opportunities had to be found by oneself. Sitting around and waiting would never yield results. Although Yan Xishuang's approach wasn't very aboveboard, it also wasn't a despicable plot. Seeing that Ning Qing didn't want to take advantage of her, Yan Xishuang felt a little embarrassed, but she didn't know what to say. This seawater was very deep, and although the Nirvana blue stone sank quickly, it still hadn't reached the bottom after 3 hours. Are you a rogue cultivator? Yan Xishuang felt that the atmosphere between the two of them sitting together was a little awkward, so she took the initiative to talk to Ning Qing. I used to be, but now I belong to a sect. Ning Qing had just replied when a blue light swept over them. Yan Xishuang suddenly stood up. We're at the bottom of the weak water river. As long as we head to a place with dense spirit qi. Yan Xishuang's words suddenly stopped. She, like Ning Qing, stared in the direction of the blue light. The things under the green light were incomparably clear. Even the seawater that had been contaminated by the weak water could not obstruct their vision. Moreover, the seawater outside the blue light could still block the two's spiritual consciousness. What kind of blue light is this? It's so powerful that it can directly penetrate the 3,000 weak water and still shine so clearly? Ning Qing spoke up in amazement. Yan Xishuang took in a deep breath. It's not completely weak water. It's seawater contaminated by weak water. Even so, this blue light is amazing. Let's go and have a look. Ning Qing nodded, took out a few array flags and threw them next to the Nirvana bluestone. As the array flags melted, the Nirvana bluestone slowly moved towards the blue light. The direction of the blue light is in the direction of that drop of weak water. Strange, 3,000 weak water doesn't emit blue light. Yan Xishuang spoke up in doubt. Even if Yan Xishuang didn't say it, Ning Qing could guess it. Because the Nirvana bluestone would melt faster as it moved in the direction of the blue light. Yan Xishuang was just about to stop Ning Qing from moving forward when the scene in front of her shocked her once again. A fist-sized drop of dark gray water was suspended above a lotus petal. To be precise, it was suspended above a blue lotus petal. Ning Qing had long since stopped, as he was shocked by the blue-colored lotus petals. He could clearly feel the aura of a good fortune treasure from this blue lotus petal. It turned out to be a good fortune lotus petal equivalent to the mysterious yellow bead. However, the good fortune aura contained within the drop of weak water couldn't leak out at all. This blue lotus petal is definitely a heavenly treasure. Otherwise, that drop of weak water wouldn't have fallen onto this lotus petal. Yan Xishuang spoke with a trembling voice. She only knew that 3,000 weak water wouldn't fall into a place without treasures. She initially thought that this drop of weak water would be in a starry sky spiritual vein or a large starry sky pill pond. But she never expected that this drop of weak water would fall onto a lotus petal. From this, She understood that this lotus petal was definitely a top-grade treasure. I want that blue lotus petal. Yan Xishuang spoke with a trembling voice before sighing. She knew that it would be difficult to take away that blue lotus petal. They couldn't even get close to this lotus petal. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. I'll try to take away that drop of weak water. But I want to tell you that even if you can take away this lotus petal, you can't take it away. But do you want me to give you half? Yan Xishuang looked at Ning Cheng and asked. It didn't matter if they split it in half. Moreover, she guessed that this lotus petal was the only thing in this place and nothing else. Ning Cheng hesitated for a moment before speaking up. Have you heard of good fortune treasures? Yan Xishuang's eyes flashed with extreme shock. She immediately grabbed Ning Cheng's arm and spoke with a trembling voice. Ning Cheng, did you say that this lotus petal is a good fortune treasure? Ning Cheng smiled in his heart. There's finally something you don't know about. Although he understood that Yan Xishuang didn't know that this blue lotus petal was a good fortune treasure, it was because the drop of weak water concealed the good fortune aura. Unlike him, who had the mysterious yellow bead. Yes, if I'm not wrong, this lotus petal is a fragment of a good fortune treasure. Seeing that Yan Xishuang didn't hide anything from him, Ning Cheng didn't hide anything. Yan Xishuang didn't notice her impoliteness. Instead, she couldn't hide the shock and excitement in her eyes. She muttered, "It's a good fortune treasure, a fragment of the good fortune lotus." But soon she remembered what Ning Cheng had just said and quickly asked, "You took a fancy to this good fortune treasure, so you don't want to share it with me?" When she said this, she completely forgot that her cultivation was higher than Ning Cheng's. "Let go of your hand first." Ning Cheng looked at Yan Xishuang, who was holding on to him. Only then did Yan Xishuang realize that she had been too excited. She quickly put down her hand and looked at Ning Cheng with even more urgency. Ning Cheng spoke up speechlessly, "Can you separate a good fortune treasure?" Yan Xishuang thought about it and agreed. If a good fortune treasure could be separated, it wouldn't be a good fortune treasure. Even if she was an eternal level expert, she couldn't separate a good fortune treasure. Ning Cheng, however, fell into contemplation after saying those words. Good fortune treasures were so tough, so how could they have fragments? What could break a good fortune treasure? The good fortune indestructible axe he saw before was a fragment, and now he saw a blue lotus petal, which was also a fragment. A blue lotus petal? Was it a fragment of the good fortune azure lotus? Ning Cheng felt even more shocked. When he obtained the mysterious yellow bead, he had obtained some inheritance, which contained some vague information about the good fortune azure lotus. Since both the good fortune indestructible axe and the good fortune azure lotus could be broken, the only possibility was that the owners of these two good fortune treasures had fought each other, which resulted in both of them breaking apart. Yan Xishuang didn't know that Ning Cheng didn't even think about taking the azure lotus fragment for himself. But when she saw Ning Cheng frowning and thinking about it, she thought that Ning Cheng didn't want to give up this treasure. She sighed and said, "This azure lotus isn't easy to get. If you can get it, you can have it. I didn't even use any strength." Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. "Fairy Yan, I don't want to take this azure lotus for myself. It's because this azure lotus has no benefits for you. Once I take away this drop of weak water, the good fortune aura of the azure lotus would overflow. Do you think you can survive with the good fortune aura around you?" Yan Xishuang spoke up directly, "Ning Cheng, I really want this azure lotus. If you are willing to give it to me, I have a way to hide the good fortune aura of the azure lotus. If you don't want to give it to me, just forget what I said." Chapter 752. Ning Cheng spoke up with a calm voice. "The good fortune fragment is good, but it wouldn't make me break my promise. If I can take away this drop of weak water, you have to put away the green lotus fragment as fast as possible. I will give you at most half an incense stick of time. If you haven't taken away the green lotus fragment in half an incense stick of time, then sorry, I will take it away myself." Ning Cheng really didn't covet the good fortune azure lotus fragment, even though he knew that it would bring him great benefits. However, since the two of them were working together, he couldn't possibly eat them all. That would be too unsightly. But since Yen Shishuang didn't take away the azure lotus fragment after half an incense stick worth of time, then he wouldn't remain polite. The good fortune aura of the green lotus fragment could easily be exposed. With his ability, he could at most control this aura for the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. After half an incense stick worth of time, if Yen Shishuang couldn't take away the azure lotus fragment, he would take it himself. Otherwise, if someone sensed the aura of the good fortune treasure, he would be shooting himself in the foot. Alright, I agree. If I can't take this lotus fragment in half an incense stick's time, then I'll let you take it. However, ordinary items could not be stored in the 3,000 weak water. Even a top-grade Dao artifact would be quickly corroded by the 3,000 weak water. Are you sure you can take away this 3,000 weak water? Yen Shishuang asked with some doubt after agreeing to Ning Cheng's words. If Ning Cheng couldn't take away the 3,000 weak water, she couldn't collect the good fortune azure lotus fragment. Ning Cheng had already thought of this a long time ago. He had a hunch that his measureless gourd could take away this 3,000 weak water. As for why, it was just a hunch. If the measureless gourd could not take away the 3,000 weak water, then Ning Cheng decided to leave immediately. Treasures were good, but his life was more important. I'll give it a try. Saying that, Ning Cheng brought out the measureless gourd and drove the Nirvana Bluestone towards the weak water. The closer the Nirvana Bluestone got to the weak water, the louder the chi-chi sound became. At the same time, the cold aura also wrapped Yen Shishuang in a layer of frost. Even if Ning Cheng's body contained the celestial river flame, his eyebrows gradually started to condense with white frost. This was definitely not an ordinary white frost. This kind of frost was thousands of times colder than ordinary white frost. Once this frost invaded their blood, even if Ning Cheng and Yen Shishuang were body-refining experts with a starry sky body, they would still freeze to death. Stop, we can't go any further. Yen Shishuang anxiously called out to Ning Cheng. If they went any further, this Nirvana Bluestone would turn into nothingness. Without the Nirvana Bluestone, they would undoubtedly die. Ning Cheng stopped and looked at Yen Shishuang calmly before saying, Fairy Yen, I have to give it a try. If you don't want to try. If Yen Shishuang didn't want to try, then he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't just send Yen Shishuang up. If he sent Yen Shishuang up, he might never be able to come to this place again. Yen Shishuang sighed. Ning Cheng, continue. Since he wanted to obtain something good, he had to take this risk. But what I want to tell you is that once the Nirvana Bluestone completely melts, I still have a trump card to escape. If you can't escape, Ning Cheng spoke in a light voice, I don't need you to care about me in case of failure, you can just walk away by yourself. While speaking, Ning Cheng sped up even more. The Nirvana Bluestone's sizzling sounds grew even faster, and the Bluestone started to shrink. Ning Cheng estimated that in just half an incense stick worth of time, the Bluestone would completely melt. Yen Shishuang looked at Ning Cheng with a complicated look before taking out a talisman and holding it in her hand. Breaking boundary talisman? Ning Cheng asked in surprise. He had already used a breaking boundary talisman in the past. Song Wei had given him one, and he knew that it was a heaven-defying talisman that could tear through the boundary and escape. Since Yen Shishuang could take out a breaking boundary talisman, it meant that she definitely had an extraordinary background. Ning Cheng could also see that Yen Shishuang's breaking boundary talisman was somewhat different from the one Song Wei gave him. Although the grade wasn't as good as the one Song Wei gave him, the Dao charm flowing over it was of a higher grade. Yen Shishuang nodded. It's a breaking boundary talisman. My breaking boundary talisman is a bit special. To be precise, it's much better than common breaking boundary talismans. Unfortunately, this breaking boundary talisman can only go to a specific place, and only one person can go there. So, I can't take you away. At this point, Yen Shishuang seemed a little embarrassed. Ning Cheng had saved her life before. But now, in a life and death situation, she could only protect herself and couldn't help Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng did not care about it as he waved his hand. Not everyone was like Yu Qing who valued friendship and righteousness. If it were Yu Qing instead of Yen Shishuang, even if the two of them had just met, Yuqing wouldn't hesitate to give the breaking boundary talisman to Ningqing. There was no other reason than that he had saved her life. In fact, even if Yan Xishuang didn't want to leave and gave him the breaking boundary talisman, he would never take it. It had nothing to do with the mysterious yellow bead. It was just that he wouldn't do such a thing. Yan Xishuang obviously wasn't like Yuqing. If her breaking boundary talisman could take away Ningqing, she wouldn't hesitate to take him away. But since her breaking boundary talisman could only be used by one person, she wouldn't give up this opportunity to others. The sizzling sound grew louder and louder, and the bluestone slab shrank to less than 3 feet. It was foreseeable that if the Nirvana bluestone shrank any further, it wouldn't be able to accommodate 2 people at the same time. Yan Xishuang leaned close to Ningqing, and the talisman in her hand even gave off a faint glow. From this, one could tell that she was ready to escape at any time. Ningqing remained calm. When the bluestone slab shrank to less than 2 feet, he suddenly brought out the measureless gourd in his hand. The measureless gourd, driven by Ningqing's spiritual consciousness, directly covered the drop of weak water and released a suction force towards the weak water. At the same time, Ningqing's spiritual consciousness turned into countless tiny consciousness threads and shot out. However, before these consciousness threads could even touch the weak water, they turned into nothingness. As the powerful aura of the weak water and cold water assaulted him, Ningqing felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Ningqing crazily sent out more spiritual consciousness threads. He had a starry sky sea of consciousness, and his sea of consciousness had recently advanced once. Plus, he also had the protection of the everlasting Blue Thunder City and the Celestial River in his sea of consciousness. Although the powerful backlash from the weak water could hurt him, it couldn't do anything to him. As Ningqing's spiritual consciousness threads increased in number and the suction force from the measureless gourd grew stronger, the drop of weak water finally reached Ningqing and turned into a dark gray stream that rushed into the measureless gourd. No matter how powerful the weak water was, it was only a drop. After the drop of weak water entered the measureless gourd, Ningqing quickly activated several restrictions and sealed the mouth of the gourd. Ningqing felt pleasantly surprised. First, the measureless gourd could really collect the 3,000 drops of weak water. Second, he felt that this drop of 3,000 drops of weak water would help him a lot in the future. Yan Xishuang, who was about to activate the talisman, felt shocked when she saw Ningqing put away the weak water. She quickly reacted and rushed out, pouncing towards the green lotus petal. Ningqing's face turned pale. Nevertheless, he kept his promise and threw out dozens of array flags, covering up the good fortune aura of the azure lotus petal. Yan Xishuang really wasn't bragging. She didn't even need half an incense stick worth of time to collect the good fortune azure lotus petal. As for where it went, Ningqing couldn't feel it. This woman must have some secrets, Ningqing thought to himself in shock. However, he didn't show it on his face. Instead, he picked up the half-foot-long Nirvana bluestone under his feet. He vaguely felt that this half-foot-long Nirvana bluestone had something wrapped inside it, and that something was still shaking. Was this the Nirvana heart that could evolve a grade 6 starry sky flame? Ningqing's heart filled with expectations. The surprise on Yan Xishuang's face was even more obvious than Ningqing's. She threw a ring to Ningqing and said, "These are for you. Thank you for your generosity. I'm leaving now. If you have the ability to go to where I am in the future, I will thank you again." The moment Ningqing received the ring, Yan Xishuang activated the breaking boundary talisman in her hand. The breaking boundary talisman shot out a ray of light and instantly disappeared without a trace. Even after Yan Xishuang obtained the good fortune azure lotus fragment, she still couldn't wait to leave. Ningqing didn't find it strange that this woman was a little wary of him. After obtaining the good fortune azure lotus fragment, she became even more wary of him. Therefore, she didn't hesitate to bring out the breaking boundary talisman to escape. She feared that he would snatch the azure lotus fragment. Ningqing didn't care about it. Not to mention a good fortune azure lotus fragment, even if it was the entire good fortune azure lotus. If he agreed to it, he wouldn't go back on his word and snatch it. Since he and Yan Xishuang had cooperated, he didn't feel like he suffered a loss. Of course, Yan Xishuang should have earned more. After Ning Cheng took away the drop of weak water, the cold seawater around him disappeared completely. Ning Cheng's shield also blocked the surrounding seawater, and it only took him a few breaths to rush out of the water again. The 3,000 weak water river, which originally stood apart from the surrounding deep blue seawater, had disappeared without a trace, and the knife-like interface also started to merge with the surrounding seawater. The weak water river, which was originally a few feet lower, had already become level with the surrounding seawater. Once the waves came over, nothing could stop them anymore, and they directly swept over it. This 3,000 weak water river truly felt strange. Ning Cheng sighed and brought out the starry sky wheel before disappearing without a trace. After Ning Cheng left the devouring bone star, he immediately checked the ring Yan Xishuang gave him. Opening the ring, Ning Cheng found a starry sky spiritual vein and 10 million permanent essence pills inside. This made Ning Cheng feel very satisfied. What he lacked the most was cultivation resources. Although the value of the good fortune azure lotus fragment was countless times more precious than his cultivation resources, Ning Cheng didn't feel disappointed. He and Yan Xishuang were just cooperating. Not to mention that Yan Xishuang had paid him some cultivation resources. Even if Yan Xishuang didn't take out anything, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. After putting away these things, Ning Cheng began to refine the drop of 3,000 weak water. Regardless of how useful this drop of 3,000 weak water would be to him in the future, he urgently needed this drop of weak water to cover up the mysterious yellow aura. The mysterious yellow bead still lacked the wood origin bead. Once he entered the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate, the mysterious yellow aura would leak out. Since this drop of weak water could hide the good fortune aura of the good fortune azure lotus fragment, it could also hide the good fortune aura of the mysterious yellow bead. Chapter 753. The drop of 3,000 weak water, which Ning Cheng refined, floated in the corner of the starry sky wheel's inner cabin. The mysterious yellow bead floated under this drop of weak water, without letting even the slightest bit of mysterious yellow aura seep out. Without Ning Cheng, even if this drop of weak water could cover up the good fortune aura, it could only use the devouring bone sea to hide the azure lotus fragment. It would be impossible to hide the complete good fortune origin aura of the mysterious yellow bead. However, the mysterious yellow bead was Ning Cheng's, and it had already recognized him as its master. Moreover, the mysterious yellow bead had already gathered 4 kinds of origins and only lacked the wood origin. Moreover, when Ning Cheng reached the Tao returning to 1 in the mysterious yellow bead, the laws of the mysterious yellow bead had slowly established themselves. Although it wasn't complete, it already had the aura of the starry sky laws. At this time, even if Ning Cheng did not use the weak water to cover up the mysterious yellow bead, he could still restrain almost 99% of the good fortune origin aura. Now that Ning Cheng refined the drop of 3,000 weak water, it floated above the mysterious yellow bead, perfectly concealing the mysterious yellow bead's aura. Ning Cheng stayed inside the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate while the starry sky wheel moved towards culmination starland under Chasing Bull's control. Ning Cheng knew that his cultivation was still too low. Regardless of whether Chuan Xinlo could successfully reach Tao confirming realm or not, he had to use every bit of time to cultivate. The starry sky wheel controlled by Chasing Bull wasn't fast, but even so, it was still 10 times faster than an average starry sky battleship. Inside the mysterious yellow bead, piles of permanent essence pills turned into nothingness under Ning Cheng's absorption. The starry sky spiritual vein given to him by Yan Xishuang also gradually shrank. The rich and pure starry sky essence chi merged with the mysterious yellow origin, metal, water, fire, and earth origin auras to form a huge dragon-shaped essence chi that poured into Ning Cheng's body. With such a powerful absorption intensity, Ning Cheng's cultivation rose at a crazy pace, just like when he absorbed the starry sky essence chi. At the same time, his starry sky sea of consciousness and celestial essence continued to condense. Because of the absorption speed and range, Ning Cheng's starry sky essence also started to condense. The starry sky's essence qi around Ning Cheng's body turned into a whistling sound. If not for the mysterious yellow bead, this kind of momentum would have been too shocking. 5 months later, Ning Cheng had consumed more than 10 million permanent essence pills, and the starry sky essence qi vein under him had also disappeared. Ning Cheng opened his eyes and stood up before putting away the mysterious yellow bead. It didn't make any sense for him to continue cultivating. He only had about 3 million permanent essence pills left. Over the past few months, he had used up more than 10 million permanent essence pills, plus a starry sky essence qi vein. Yet he had only managed to raise his cultivation to the peak of middle-stage life and death realm. However, he was still a step away from the late-stage life and death realm. This made Ning Cheng slightly disappointed. He knew that with the improvement of his cultivation, the resources he needed for his cultivation would also increase by several times. He also did not expect that the things required for cultivation would be so terrifying. Initially, he thought that more than 10 million permanent essence pills plus a starry sky essence qi vein would allow him to advance to the peak of life and death realm. But now it seems that he would need at least several times more to reach the peak of life and death realm. Fortunately, his strength had also increased by several folds. Compared to when he had just entered the life and death realm, his strength had taken another step forward. If he had been at a complete disadvantage against Chuan Xinluo before, then Ning Cheng believed that even if he couldn't compare to Chuan Xinluo now, it wouldn't be by much. What he feared the most now was that Chuan Xinluo managed to reach Dao Confirming Realm. If Chuan Xinluo succeeded in reaching Dao Confirming Realm, he would still be an ant in front of Chuan Xinluo. As for whether Chuan Xinluo died in the ancient Shadow Temple or not, Ning Cheng had a vague feeling that he wasn't the only one who came out alive after entering the ancient Shadow Temple. If only 2 people came out of the ancient Shadow Temple alive, then Chuan Xinluo would definitely be one of them. Master, we've reached culmination Starland. Chasing Bull felt Ning Cheng coming out of the mysterious yellow bead and quickly called out. Seeing Chasing Bull's expectant eyes, Ning Cheng understood that this fellow didn't want to stay in the true spirit world to cultivate. It just wanted to follow him outside. You don't have to enter the true spirit world, just follow me. Ning Cheng didn't care about it. Although Chasing Bull was a spirit beast, it couldn't cultivate to the eternal realm in a short period of time. Unless one cultivated in the mysterious yellow bead, but Chasing Bull obviously couldn't cultivate in the mysterious yellow bead. Many thanks, Master. I promise I won't let down Master's prestige. Chasing Bull felt overjoyed. A huge defensive array blocked Ning Cheng's path, and the 3 words "Yu Clan's Corner" appeared in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng stopped but didn't ask anyone. Seeing Yu Clan's Corner, Yu Qing's face appeared in his mind. Yu Qing would never appear again. Even if Yu Qing reincarnated, she would have nothing to do with him. Ning Cheng sighed. Thinking about Yu Qing, he couldn't help but miss Qianghua and Luofei even more. This time, after completing Yu Qing's task, if Qianghua and Luofei still couldn't find the mysterious yellow starland, he would issue a search warrant for the entire starry sky. He would never allow the same thing to happen a second time. Who are you looking for? A celestial bridge cultivator stopped Ning Cheng and looked at Ning Cheng and Chasing Bull beside Ning Cheng with some doubts. Chasing Bull wanted to speak for its master, but it didn't know what Ning Cheng was doing here. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and spoke up politely, "Excuse me, is Shen Mengyan here?" When the celestial bridge cultivator heard Ning Cheng say that he was looking for Shen Mengyan, his tone turned a little cold. "This is Yu Clan's Corner. I don't know this person. Please go ahead." Ning Cheng frowned slightly. Yu Qing had made it very clear that her mother's name was Shen Mengyan. Since she was Yu Qing's mother, then she must be in Yu Clan's corner. You better speak politely. If you anger this grandpa bull will swallow you. Chasing Bull, on seeing its master frown, suddenly became angry. It kicked its hooves and roared. Chasing Bull's cultivation was much higher compared to this celestial bridge cultivator. Therefore, when this imposing aura came crashing down, the celestial bridge cultivator found it difficult to breathe. This celestial bridge cultivator obviously wasn't an idiot. Knowing that Chasing Bull's strength far surpassed him, he simply kept his mouth shut. Ning Cheng ignored Chasing Bull and asked again, "Excuse me, does Yu Qing live here?" The Celestial Bridge cultivator wanted to shout at Ning Cheng again, but when he glanced at the aggressive Chasing Bull next to him, he softened his tone and spoke, "Yu Qing has already fallen. There is no longer a person named Yu Qing here. You looking for Yu Qing has nothing to do with my Yu clan's corner. You can leave now." Then I'll ask again. Is Yu Qing's mother called Shen Mengyan? Ning Cheng's politeness disappeared without a trace, and his tone turned stern. Ning Cheng had spoken politely because of Yu Qing. But since this fellow showed no politeness towards Yu Qing, he naturally would not remain polite. Shen Mengyan is indeed Yu Qing's mother. She went out to look for Yu Qing many years ago, but there is no such person in Yu clan's corner. A crisp voice arrived, and a female cultivator in the heaven-seated realm appeared behind the Celestial Bridge cultivator. The Celestial Bridge cultivator quickly stepped forward and bowed. "Greetings, Antling." Ning Cheng also looked at this woman. She had early-stage heaven-seated cultivation and a slightly long face. But at the same time, she was also quite beautiful. Ning Cheng felt a little dissatisfied. Yu clan's corner had some fame in Culmination Starland. Why didn't they invite someone to come in and sit down? Instead, they directly said that the person they were looking for was not here. "I'm Yu Qing's friend. Yu Qing asked me to bring something to her mother, Senior Shen Mengyan." Ning Cheng said this because he wanted this Ant Ling to invite him in. He wanted to learn more about Yu Qing and then ask about Shen Mengyan's whereabouts. But Ning Cheng didn't expect that before he could finish his words, this heaven-seated female cultivator directly interrupted Ning Cheng. "Yu Qing is not here, and neither is Shen Mengyan. If you have something, just give it to me and then leave." If she hadn't seen the bull next to Ning Cheng looking a little weird, she might have said something even worse. In fact, in her eyes, Ning Cheng was nothing. Yu Qing's friend, what was Yu Qing's cultivation? It would be strange if her friend could be any better. Chasing Bull snorted, and Ning Cheng knew that Chasing Bull was about to go berserk again. He patted Chasing Bull's head and spoke, "Since we're not welcome here, let's go." Yu clan's corner was Yu Qing's hometown, and he didn't want to cause trouble here. As for handing over the purple moon-shaped talisman given to him by Yu Qing to someone else, Ning Cheng didn't even think about it. Since Yu Qing asked him to give it to Shen Mengyan, he had to hand it over to Shen Mengyan. Seeing that Ning Cheng didn't mention anything about handing over Yu Qing's things, Ant Ling didn't force it, nor did she stop Ning Cheng from leaving. She just gave a cold snort and raised her hand to flick Ning Cheng's back. A faintly discernible aura fell on Ning Cheng's back, but Ning Cheng didn't seem to notice it. "Master, where are we going? Do you want to go to Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City?" After leaving Yu clan's corner, Chasing Bull quickly asked. It couldn't forget the liveliness of Eternal Heaven's Starry Sky City. Now that it came here again, it wanted to go to the lively Eternal Heaven's Starry Sky City the most. "Not for the time being. If we go, wouldn't that mark us too far away?" Ning Cheng replied with a calm voice. A trivial heaven-seated cultivator dared to leave a spiritual consciousness imprint on his back. Since this Ant Ling left a spiritual consciousness imprint on his back, she most likely wanted to kill him after he left. Perhaps because of this, she didn't force him to take out Yu Qing's things at the entrance of Yu clan's corner. From the looks of it, after Yu Qing left Yu clan's corner, something must have happened to her mother, Shen Mengyan. If Ant Ling hadn't left a spiritual consciousness imprint on him, Ning Cheng would have already sneaked into Yu clan's corner to investigate. But since Ant Ling dared to leave a spiritual consciousness imprint on him, then she shouldn't blame him. When that Ant Ling came to his door, he could then interrogate her. Chasing Bull might be a fool, but it wasn't a fool. As soon as Ning Cheng spoke those words, it immediately understood that someone had left a spiritual consciousness imprint on its master. It immediately felt angry. This woman ate a bear's heart and leopard's gall, daring to leave a spiritual consciousness imprint on its master? After leaving Yu clan's corner, Ning Cheng didn't move too fast. He initially thought that Ant Ling wanted to kill him and would definitely wait for him to leave before making her move. However, he had just left Yu clan's corner when his spiritual consciousness swept out and detected someone following him. What made him speechless was that the cultivator following him was just a celestial shatterer cultivator. Ning Cheng couldn't understand it. Even if Aunt Ling's head was kicked by a donkey, she wouldn't let a celestial shatterer cultivator chase after him, right? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.